A notification screen pops up with the words Tower of Trials. The challenge of floor 100 is loading, accompanied by the appearance of several angels. Below, the silhouette of a man appears, followed by a remark, truly as persistent as a leech, struggling is useless, I'm telling you now. Sooner or later I will clear this 100th floor. Jinwoo God, that's me. This is the top-ranked game Battle of Summoners, often abbreviated as BOS. It is a broken game that few play due to its extreme difficulty. Now only veteran players remain. There, he set transcendent records and became a legend in the game. Several comments from the One Heaven 5 Emperors appear on the screen. A player conquering up to floor 70 of the Tower of Trials. By Tian Ahum, is Big Brother Jinwoo busy? Surely Big Brother is busy conquering floor 99, right? Reading this, Jinwoo mutters to himself. I already cleared floor 99. Why is that? Is there a problem? He says to himself. That's right, Jinwoo is a character that makes the pros bow in respect. But sorry, I'm busy right now. A somewhat regretful smile is on his face. Just after clearing this last round, I'll delete the game. In real life, my life is a wreck. Things shouldn't have turned out this way. Addicted to games for 10 years to the point of dropping out of college without a stable job like everyone else. Although my parents don't say anything, they must be very sad inside. So I decided to get rid of this trash game and restart my life. I'm already 24, I have to live properly. Therefore, for the goal of rebuilding his life, he wants to give Jinwoo a perfect ending. I'll just clear this one last time and delete the game for good. At this moment, Jinwoo prepares to counterattack. A summoning panel appears, displaying a list of summoned beasts. The inventory is also open, while Bai Tian continuously discusses on the side. It seems Big Brother is very busy. Rachel, he usually doesn't look at the summoning panel, let's wait a bit and see. The summoned beast used is the ultimate move, White Whale. Accompanied by a system notification, the White Whale has been summoned. The comment section is noisy with chatter. Rank 2 player Rachel, but if the 100th floor is cleared this time, those angels will launch an attack once again. Below is Rachel's remark, exactly 10 years right. Jinwoo God is completely focused on the battle in front of him. He quickly erects a wall to block those attacks. Jinwoo's face is extremely tense, and the comment section grows louder. Genos is truly crazy, too formidable, great, I can't quit this game because I want to see floor 100 cleared. Suddenly, several attacks carrying a purple light fly past the angels, making them turn around toward the back. But at that very moment, other attacks strike, tearing the angels apart. The one who acted was, of course, our protagonist. Jinwoo is still using the White Whale summoned beast on this side. A clear sense of confidence is on his face. Seeing this, the viewers continuously praise him, saying he truly lives up to the name Jinwoo God. However, another player reminds the group, has everyone read the notification board yet? But light appearing from behind makes Jinwoo turn his head. Before him now is a giant monster. It attacks almost immediately. Jinwoo's eyes widen in shock. However, he swiftly summons the Azure Dragon. As soon as the Azure Dragon appears, it uses its water element power to combat the monster. Meanwhile, people on the outside are still discussing the fight. Will the game structure change? What does that mean? It's probably just written for fun. Even the administration likely doesn't think anyone can clear floor 100. Space is violently distorted in an instant. Below is a line of text, who knows? Jinwoo's eyes widen as he witnesses the scale of the battle. Bai Tian, what if the world really changes? A declaration is made. Reality transforms into the world of summoners. In the next second, a shocking explosion occurs. Jinwoo's screen displays the words, Tower of Trials, floor 100 successfully conquered. Unable to contain his excitement, Jinwoo cheers loudly. It's cleared. Passers-by look at him with judging eyes. Finally successful. What are they even muttering? What's wrong with him? He must be crazy. However, only Jinwoo understands. Master Jinwoo has finally conquered all 100 floors. Now, farewell to the game. He starts wanting to show off. Great, before deleting the game, I must boast to the other gamers. Unexpectedly at this time, the people around him show expressions of shock. Then Jinwoo is also drawn to a blinding light. In the sky now is a giant notification. Tower of Trials, floor 100 successfully conquered. Everyone present can't help but exclaim, what is that? The next notification reads, beta test concluded. Jinwoo begins to feel bewildered. Why is the in-game screen appearing over there? Following the notification, a series of red papers appear. A few people quickly grab them. What is this? A notification appears, please tear the summoning scroll. They only feel intrigued. Is this some kind of event? Let's try tearing it. And then they immediately tear the red paper. Jinwoo on the side is too late to stop them. Don't if they tear it. The red paper is torn in half. It immediately explodes, startling the user. Another notification appears. A new world has been opened. Jinwoo is so horrified his face darkens as he witnesses this scene. A mass of monsters has arrived from nowhere. While he is busy talking to himself, a car has nearly touched him. Only when light flashes from behind does Jinwoo realize something is wrong. A loud noise rings out, followed by the panic of those around. They surround Jinwoo and shout, "Someone's been hit by a car here, someone help him." He lies alone on the ground, his head bleeding. 119, quickly call 119. In his heart, Jinwoo thinks, damn it, this cursed game. The phone on the ground has long been cracked and broken. An unknown amount of time has passed. In the hospital room, the news plays. Next, amid the official start of the International Players League, South Korea once again leaves a disappointing result, ranking at the bottom of the leaderboard. Regarding this, the association affirms the need to mobilize more high-level summoned beasts, but some experts argue the national budget is insufficient to cover those costs. Jinwoo's hand twitches slightly at this moment. This startles his mother. She nearly drops her knife on the floor. "Honey, oh honey, quickly call the doctor." Her voice clearly shows the relief in her heart. Jinwoo is awake. The sky outside is strangely clear. Inside the hospital room, Jinwoo's father and mother are recounting what happened. His eyes are wide with shock. As soon as he wakes up, he hears shocking news. First, 3 years have passed since the day of his accident. Second, the game landscape turning into reality that he saw before fainting was real. The door bursts open and a pebble golem walks in. "This is your father's summoned beast, Pebble Golem." Only now can Jinwoo confirm it wasn't a dream. His father continues to explain, "It helps me sort goods at the express delivery warehouse. It's a good worker." He looks at it blankly. That E-rank summoned beast is Dad's. And the third shock? The TV is broadcasting news about Rachel. In light of this situation, players worldwide collectively affirm that to conquer the Tower of Trials, they must find South Korea's Jinwoo God. This declaration has caused a large wave of questioning in public opinion. Rachel, the world's #1 ranked player, one of the One Heaven 5 emperors, has always been waiting for him. If he appears, that will be the moment the world is shaken once more. The truth is the whole world is searching for Jinwoo God, which is me. He looks at the image of the girl on the TV and thinks, moreover, that name can't be mistaken. Her identity is definitely a member of the One Heaven 5 emperors. The news ends there. At this moment, Jinwoo thinks, has the game Battle of Summoners really become a reality? The system appears. Do you want to start the tutorial? Jinwoo's mother suddenly speaks. "Jinwoo, I know you're very surprised. You don't need to start the tutorial right away, just rest for now." However, he quickly denies it. "No, Mom." He flashes a smile and explains further, "I have to adapt quickly. My body is stronger now, don't worry, Mom." Meanwhile, his mind is already calculating clearly, although he has nothing in hand right now and doesn't know how the world has changed. But what's so hard about it? For this game specifically, I'm confident I'll become top in the world. Everything that follows happens very simply. After being discharged and returning home, Jinwoo is sitting in front of his computer screen. He begins to research this world, the place where the game BOS has become reality. The searched information includes everything from duels and dungeon expeditions to the Tower of Trials. Every system in the game has manifested right in real life. After careful research, he concludes, now that 3 years have passed, people seem to have gradually adapted to living with summoned beasts. Jinwoo stands up from his chair and mutters, "Even so, they can never be as well versed in them as I am." He excitedly operates the system board. Then it's about time. "Shall we begin?" Notifications continuously appear. "Do you want to open the inventory?" The tutorial phase is starting. Very quickly, Jinwoo has moved to another location. Just as he predicted, the surroundings are completely deserted. I didn't think I'd have to find such a deserted place just because I can't predict what kind of summoned beast will appear. A series of tutorial parts appear one after another. Tutorial reward, low-level summoning scroll ×2, warning, recommended for outdoor use. Jinwoo looks at the red paper in his hand and can only sigh. Now everything feels more real than ever. He mutters to himself, "Please, let me summon something decent. Because even if it's me, Beak Jinwoo, known as One Heaven, if I have to start with trash summons, I'm done for." However, BOS is a cursed gacha game famous for its dismal drop rates. The stats are summarized as follows. Low-level summoning scroll, D, 1% E, 5% F, 94%. The ranks span from S to F with extremely low success rates. One only needs to overcome the 1% luck rate to receive a D rank item. He doesn't rush to tear it, instead he starts praying, "God, please, please, I beg you to give me something somewhat useful." Jinwoo's face is incredibly serious. "I don't need D rank, I'd be satisfied with an E rank item, just as long as it's a useful E rank." Finally, he proceeds to tear the paper. System using low-level summoning scroll. Jinwoo carefully reads the words, constantly wondering, will it be successful? Come to think of it, how do summoned things appear? At that moment, the paper suddenly explodes. This startles Jinwoo, leaving him taken aback. What the hell is this? Several lines of information from the system begin to appear. Player, Jinwoo. You have received the Summoned Beast, Wind Spirit Rank X. Jinwoo's eyes widen in disbelief and he mutters, "Rank X? Does such a rank even exist?" On the other side, the spirit girl is lazily rubbing her eyes and cries out in shock, "What the hell?" Then she looks at the person in front of her with excitement. "Oh my god, was I really just summoned? Crazy, how long has it been since this happened?" Jinwoo is constantly wondering, what is this? How can a summoned beast talk? However, he quickly guesses it. A name is uttered from his mouth. Are you Ramba? Ramba quickly corrects him. "No, I am a wind spirit." But she also realizes it very fast. "Wait, what? The only person who ever called me by that name." Ramba's face becomes more excited. "Don't tell me, are you Jinwoo?" Then she lunges at Jinwoo with extreme excitement. "Jinwoo, do you know how much I missed you?" Jinwoo simply replies softly, "Of course." In his heart, he is constantly calculating. "I remember now, E-rank summoned beast, wind spirit. If one knows how to exploit hidden mechanics and equips the right type of runes, the result is that she will become a god-tier unit with the ability to increase attack speed exponentially." Because they had been together for a long time since he was a newbie, he even gave her the nickname Ramba. Jinwoo glances at Ramba with a question in his mind. However, wasn't she deleted from the game in a bug fix patch during the first year? He looks at the information board before him and thinks, what was the reason? Was her use restricted because they found an exploit causing severe imbalance? Does anyone know how furious I was when they deleted the summoned beast I spent a whole year raising? What on earth is going on? The information board reads, Summon, Wind Spirit Level 1 Fairy Race Rank S, currently isolated due to discovery of imbalance-causing factors under specific conditions. Skills possessed, Wind Pressure increases attack speed by 3% for a single summoned target after each staff swing. Jinwoo's eyes widen. In his mind he mutters, isolated status. At this, Ramba tearfully explains, suddenly I was pulled to a very strange place. I was locked up and couldn't even get out. Let's never leave each other again, Jinwoo, okay? Instead of showing pity, Jinwoo roughly pushes her away. Wait a minute, Ramba. He asks a question, locked up, who isolated you? Only then does Ramba realize the slip in her words. Well, what was it, I mean? She quickly changes the subject. Ouch, suddenly my head hurts terribly. Ramba acts as if she has a headache, clutching her head and crying out, It hurts! It hurts so much. My head hurts so much I can't remember anything. Surely some bastard placed a restriction on her, Jinwoo thinks. Seeing this, he asks back, really? Then just tell me what you can remember. She can only reply seriously, sorry, but I can't reveal much to you, we were isolated. Originally, no matter how hard a player tried to summon us, we couldn't leave. This makes Jinwoo even more confused. Are there other summoned beasts besides you who were also isolated? Ramba shares sincerely. Since we weren't locked in the same room, I don't know who they are, but there are definitely many others. Based on a guess, maybe there are about 10 individuals, Jinwoo speculates. 10 individuals. If it really is 10 individuals, he can't believe his eyes. Holy crap, no way. Because the truth is, 10 summoned beasts had disappeared after being marked as bugs while he was using them. He begins to calculate everything. If all those summoned beasts were classified as rank X and isolated. Ramba interjected with a comment, I'm not entirely sure about the details. But either way, Jinwoo, it seems we'll get a chance every time you tear a summoning scroll. It's been a long time since I felt a call from a low-grade summoning scroll. Looking at the red paper on the ground, Jinwoo remarked to himself, Isn't that interesting? Moreover, do they only react to the scrolls that I tear? His expression grew more serious. There's no doubt about it, I'm the only one who can summon X-rank items. He then wondered, Could this be a special privilege reserved only for the one who conquered the 100th floor of the Tower of Trials? Jinwoo quickly tore the remaining paper. System, using low-grade summoning scroll. As he did so, he muttered to himself, "Is every low-grade summoning scroll I tear set to drop an X-rank item?" The summon quickly appeared. Player, Jinwoo has received a summon, F-rank hairy gorilla. Jinwoo couldn't help but feel disappointed. I guess not. Meanwhile, Ramba was visibly delighted. A gorilla, he thought to himself. F-rank, that means the drop rate for X-rank items is completely random. This damn garbage RNG game. After calculating carefully, he concluded, then as expected, I'll need to tear as many summoning scrolls as possible to increase the odds of getting X-rank items. If I can possess all the X-rank items, I might become much stronger than back when I dominated as the Zenith. Once he had determined his goal, he spoke up. Ramba. She quickly turned her head and replied, Jinwoo. A remark followed. From now on, drop the name Jinwoo, just call me Jinwoo. Ramba asked back, puzzled. Why? He didn't rush to explain, only thinking to himself. Because thanks to the 5 emperors, the name Jinu is already famous throughout the world. The risks were being listed out. No matter how superior my knowledge and experience might be, I still can't know how this 3-year gap will disadvantage me. Jinwoo himself understood clearly. If information that he possessed X-rank items leaked out, he would only become a target of envy and jealousy. A noise echoed through the forest, making several birds fly away. Jinwoo couldn't help but feel surprised. What was that? Why all of a sudden? Both Ramba and the gorilla were equally startled. A notification appeared before Jinwoo, proceeding to the next stage. Beginner basic dungeon has been initialized. Looking at the portal that suddenly appeared, Jinwoo muttered in surprise. What, right now? His hands tightened in hesitation. Oh damn it, do I really have to go in there? It was true that he had conquered countless dungeons before, but reality was far different from being inside a game. He gritted his teeth. No, I have to calm down first. Honestly, I'm terrified, but I won't have to fight directly, and most importantly, this is just a tutorial dungeon. Jinwoo turned his head toward the portal. At that moment, a system notification appeared. Player Jinwoo, please enter. The 3 of them proceeded inside. I need to adapt to this changed reality. Jinwoo's face couldn't hide his amazement. The space around him changed in an instant. I just entered a dungeon, but why does it feel a bit creepy in here? A system notification appeared. Player, Jinwoo, you have entered the beginner dungeon. Jinwoo read it cautiously and calculated silently, so it has begun. The main rule of progression was, to participate in dungeon combat you must form a summoning team. A second notification appeared. The maximum number of summons per team is 5. Below that was a choice. Do you want to assign S-rank Wind Spirit and F-rank Hairy Gorilla to Team 1? At this moment, Jinwoo calculated to himself. Normally, to increase the chances of successfully clearing a dungeon, one would fill their lineup with all 5 summoning slots. Bringing only 2 summons seems reckless, but with the right strategy, it's entirely possible. He remembered back to when he played the game. I've test-run this thousands, tens of thousands of times already. The entire clearing process is etched into my mind. The listed choices were the S-rank Wind Spirit and the F-rank Hairy Gorilla. Immediately, they were automatically summoned. He furrowed his brows, assessing in his mind. Let's see, the monster in a tutorial dungeon will definitely be. Unexpectedly, Jinwoo's eyes went wide when he heard a growl echoing from behind. System, a hungry gray wolf is lurking nearby. Quest, defeat the wolf and escape the cave. His face became more serious. F-rank Gray Wolf. His feet began to emit several streaks of yellow light. A protective shield was created for the player. Jinwoo continued to calculate cautiously, so the system protecting the player from the boss is applied perfectly. But since this was reality, a red notification suddenly appeared. Warning, you will die if attacked by a summon without an active protective shield. If I fail, it won't just end with a game over screen. The gray wolf wore a threatening expression and slowly advanced forward. At this moment, Jinwoo gave the order, Gorilla Charge. However, its way of moving made him feel incredibly disappointed. Jinwoo turned pale as he remarked, it's too slow. But that didn't affect his mood for too long. I anticipated this much, Ramba got it. She took the order and rushed forward. The skill used was wind pressure, swinging the staff to increase the attack speed of the summon. The gorilla's power was quickly boosted. It was momentarily dazed by this. However, it quickly regained its momentum and charged forward powerfully. To one side, Jinwoo remarked with satisfaction, Great, just as expected of Ramba. The gray wolf also lunged aggressively. In his mind, Jinwoo thought, was that thing this big in the game? It looks much more terrifying. He felt confident in his lineup. There's no way the hairy gorilla actually loses, right? Jinwoo's thoughts continued based on the data he knew. That is completely impossible. But he also cautiously weighed other possibilities. Even if there's only a 1 in a million chance, reality can present unforeseen variables. A bloody scene unfolded before him. The gray wolf bit into the gorilla. It lost its balance and fell. Jinwoo immediately cried out, "Ramba." She replied loudly, "Whoops, I swung as hard as I could." Wind swirled around and supported the gorilla's attack. The tide was turned with a single punch. The gray wolf went rolling across the ground. Jinwoo, waiting for exactly that moment, immediately ordered, "This is it." Ramba quickly followed up with the next move. With her support, the gorilla became even more powerful. It punched the gray wolf directly, then followed up with a barrage of strikes. The surrounding space became nothing but a blur of white dust. Jinwoo, along with Ajin, watched this scene with wide eyes. They looked at the gray wolf lying dead and motionless on the ground. At this point, the gorilla let out a roar. While Ramba cheered excitedly, "We won." Several system notifications appeared simultaneously. Dungeon clear successful. Reward, low-grade strength rune ×2. Jinwoo finally felt somewhat relieved. "I survived." As evening approached, an excited voice rang out, "Thanks, see you next time." Several bills were placed into an envelope. It was Ajin's excitement. "This is amazing, I just earned 200,000 won today, didn't I?" This was Ajin, Jinwoo's younger sister. Speaking of 3 years ago when the world changed, she also found a new profession. A rune farming player, mainly running low-level dungeons. Her job was to earn profit by selling runes to potential players. "After my brother had his accident and the family's finances became difficult, I decided to become a player, which felt like a miracle. While in a dungeon, an intermediate summoner skill book dropped. And from that book, with only a 1% drop rate, she received a C-rank summon." She glanced slightly at the bag on her shoulder. "I was truly lucky. Thanks to this C-rank dark elf, I've been able to earn money steadily by farming runes." The phone rang. The caller was her brother Jinwoo. "Big brother is calling." Ajin quickly picked up. "Hello, big brother, you got discharged from the hospital." On the other end, Jinwoo's urgent voice rang out. "Yeah, I'm out, but Ajin, Dad told me you're selling runes." This remark made her a bit indignant. "Selling runes? Call me a rune farming player, how can you use such a crude term?" That shout made Jinwoo quickly try to soothe her. "You're scaring me. Okay, fine, rune farming. Anyway, do you know where the general center is? Dad said you would know." Hearing this, Ajin couldn't help but be surprised. "The general center, that?" She explained softly. "Of course, it's located in the player area. The truth is, when the towers appeared all over the world, people needed a space to manage everything related to their summons. That's how the player areas were born. Not only are there various dungeons, but also the general center, the enhancement center, and many other places. Everything can now be settled right around the towers." The two quickly arranged to meet at a cafe. Ajin frowned, starting the conversation. "You know that Jamsil Tower and Hyundai Tower turned into towers of trials, right?" She proceeded to explain, neither fast nor slow. "The situation varies greatly depending on the country, but in South Korea the towers only appeared in those 2 locations. Therefore, the player areas you're looking for are only there." Hearing this, Jinwoo replied, "I see." However, his face was still thoughtful. "Even so, if these facilities are meant to serve the conquest of the towers, it makes sense that they were built nearby." Ajin suddenly changed the subject. "So, what rank summon did you get earlier?" "E rank," Jinwoo replied softly, "an E rank and an F rank." Hearing this, she couldn't help but feel surprised. "Really? E rank only has an appearance rate of about 5%. However, he was somewhat evasive. "Is that so? I guess I got lucky. Sorry about that, sis. It was just a lie." He continued, "Anyway, I'm going to need you to lend me a hand. I want to adapt to this system as quickly as possible." He didn't forget to make a promise. "I'll give you some pocket money later." Ajin teased back slightly. "Even though I earn much more than you, big brother." Jinwoo just replied softly, "Sis, you can't know what the future holds. Who knows, I might become the greatest player in the world." But she didn't believe it at all. "Keep dreaming." Ajin added with a boastful tone, "And big brother, being like Jinwoo God or the next Genos is hard. They're all geniuses. People like us can't become like them." Jinwoo only replied softly, Is that so? Then he stood up and asked, I understand, so please lead the way. On Jinwoo's face now was a smile of pure excitement. He wanted to see for himself what a player area looked like. The place the siblings headed toward was an extremely modern building. On the way, Ajin couldn't help but ask curiously, Oppa, you said you just pulled a summon, what did you get? Jinwoo replied, neither fast nor slow, wind spirit. Hearing this, Ajin became even more curious. Wind spirit, I've never heard of that, show me. However, Jinwoo flatly refused. No way, why would you want to see it? This blunt attitude annoyed Ajin. You cheapskate, why not? We're family, showing me wouldn't cost you anything. Hearing that, Jinwoo made a proposal, then show me yours first. Ajin was taken aback, mine. She proudly took out her summon. Fine, just don't be too shocked. Her confident expression made Jinwoo a bit curious. I wonder what on earth she has to be that confident. What appeared was a C-rank dark elf. Jinwoo almost turned to stone instantly. This indifferent reaction made Ajin so angry she had to ask, what's with that lukewarm reaction? You might not know, Oppa, but anything C-rank or higher is considered noble grade. To her explanation, Jinwoo only replied indifferently, oh really? He continued to observe the dark elf, thinking to himself, give me a break, noble grade my foot. This is the kind of C-rank I saw everywhere in dungeons. They were always just used as EXP fodder at the general store. Jinwoo spoke up, Miss Elf. He enthusiastically struck up a conversation. Dark Elf, do you speak Korean? Hello. This action puzzled both Ajin and the Dark Elf. Ajin asked with a judgmental expression, what are you doing? Hello, can't you hear me? Jinwoo explained calmly, what does it look like I'm doing? I'm just saying hello, and I was going to ask the summon my sister is so proud of to take good care of her. The more she heard, the more speechless Ajin became. Hello my foot, summons can't talk. This new information genuinely surprised Jinwoo. They can't talk. Recalling his first meeting with Ramba in his head, Jinwoo couldn't help but wonder. But when I first met Ramba, she talked. He asked back suspiciously, wait, so summons naturally can't talk? Ajin used an even more judgmental expression when she replied, whoever said summons could talk? But Jinwoo was busy remembering Ramba's playfulness. They don't. Well, right, but since Ramba talked, I just assumed all humanoid summons could talk now as part of the reality patch. I know Ramba is a special case, I even remember the way she talks. I, Jinwoo, am doing well, aren't I? At this point, Ajin requested again, now show me your summon, Oppa. To her surprise, Jinwoo refused once more later. This attitude made Ajin raise her voice. What? Why? I showed you mine. Jinwoo repeated. I said I'd show you later. Right now it's best not to draw attention. He thought to himself. I'll have to be careful when talking to Ramba for a while. He added an urge, hurry up and lead me there. Though pouting, Ajin complied. You're such a liar, wait for me. Jinwoo's face couldn't hide his amazement at the sight before him. The place they stopped was packed with people and summons. This really is Jamsil. Ajin walked ahead, explaining softly, that's right, when the tower appeared the company just flattened this whole area. The more he heard, the more curious Jinwoo became. Why? Ajin replied as if it were obvious. Why, who would want to hang out next to that gloomy tower? This place is no longer the land of dreams and hopes. Jinwoo's eyes went wide as he asked, wouldn't that be more exciting, a land of adventure and thrills? Then he was questioned by Ajin, what kind of thrills? Dungeons literally sprouted right in the middle of Jamsil. No one comes here to play anymore. Only then did Jinwoo reluctantly agree, I guess that's true. His face also became serious. Dungeons really are terrifying. But seeing places from the game appear in real life, he looked at the path ahead and remarked to himself, to be honest, it's incredibly exciting. The two went deeper inside. Is that the market? Yes. Here, people could freely trade everything from summoning scrolls to runes. Jinwoo looked around with an excited smile. This is nostalgic. I used to open summoning scrolls and runes with that rich guy Beekshan all the time. Meanwhile, Ajin explained as she walked, see those flyers over there? Almost everything you need is on them, so if you need directions, just go to the information desk. She didn't forget to add, also, since you're still a newbie, Oppa, why don't you try dropping by the academy run by the player headquarters over there? Every word showed her concern. You need to learn the basics step by step. But Jinwoo refused. No, it's okay, sis. There's nothing I need to learn or be curious about. In his heart, he had already planned his path, because I'm going to be stationed here to level up anyway. Ajin still asked worriedly, are you sure you'll be okay? Jinwoo continued to assure her, you go home first, thanks for leading the way. Seeing this, Ajin said, "You're planning to stay here." Stepping forward a few paces, he replied, "I'm going to look around by myself for a bit." Hearing this, Ajin finally nodded in understanding. "I see." However, she still felt very worried. Opa, been acting so strange lately, like he's possessed or something. He just woke up not long ago. Is he really going to be okay? I guess he's trying hard to figure things out, so maybe I should just watch from the sidelines. She called out after him, "Don't push yourself too hard. Call me if you need help." Jinwoo only gave a brief reply before disappearing from Ajin's sight. Got it. Now alone, he looked around and heightened his vigilance. No one will be coming around here, right? Once he was sure, Jinwoo began the summon. Ramba. She appeared with an excited face. Seeing this, Jinwoo quickly reached out and covered Ramba's mouth. This sudden action made her wonder, what was that for? Jinwoo's face was extremely serious as he declared, "Ramba, from now on you are not allowed to talk when we are outside, understand?" These words puzzled Ramba. "Why?" he instructed her carefully. "Because we can't let other people notice you. From now on, only talk when we're inside a dungeon, understand? If you understand, nod." Good. Then he sat down and began to calculate. "Now, I should organize my thoughts a bit, shouldn't I? I'll need some starting capital to begin farming dungeons and whatnot." Jinwoo's bank balance was clearly visible on his phone. Looking at that pathetic number, he could only let out a helpless sigh. That's life. In his heart, Jinwoo couldn't stop wondering, could things get any worse? Even if I did get into an accident, I didn't expect my bank account to have only this much left. Going back to part-time work like before would be a total waste of time. He felt a growing sense of frustration. Damn it. Jinwoo's train of thought continued. Someone would probably ask why I don't just ask my parents, but that is absolute nonsense. Because they're still working 3 jobs at once just to keep this house standing. Thinking of this, he asked himself again, and yet, am I supposed to hold my hand out and ask them for money? If I did that, I wouldn't be a human being anymore. I'd be no different from a beast. Jinwoo's face was a mix of sadness and determination. No matter if I have to start all over from zero, I can still do it. He continued thinking, the reason Jinwoo God is matchless is that I am a pure F to P ranker. Looking at the screen in front of him, Jinwoo began calculating. A typical trash game. The pay-to-win element is incredibly heavy. Didn't Chen once say he threw 300 million won into this? And yet, I still stood at the top without spending a single cent. His eyes showed clear resolve. Just because this is reality now, does that mean I can't do it? Just you wait and see, I will definitely make a comeback. Unexpectedly, a notification suddenly appeared. 500,001 receipt. Jinwoo's voice rose in surprise. What the hell? Where did this money suddenly come from? Don't tell me this is some kind of new player welfare benefit. Accompanying the transfer notification were 2 messages from Jinwoo's mother. "My son, I heard from Ajin that you've been trying hard ever since you woke up, right? I know your personality, you probably wouldn't ask for pocket money, so just use this for now." Reading this, his nose involuntarily began to sting. Memories of the time he was in a coma returned. She had been both worried and devoted in her care for him. Mom probably didn't have much money and only endured hardships. And yet, every word of her sincere longing always touched him deeply. "Mother, your son, I'm right here, so please, open your eyes, please get healthy again." He quickly wiped away the tears about to fall, muttering, "Mom, thank you." His hand tightened into a fist, showing clear determination. "Please wait for me, mother, I will definitely succeed." Jinwoo's face now wore an expression of firm resolve. He would ensure his whole family could live in comfort. He looked at the information panel in front of him and started calculating. Others have left me far behind over the past 3 years. If I want to catch up, every minute and second is precious. The first step to becoming the strongest is acting the part. To gather the materials needed for growth, I must conquer dungeons. Therefore, he first needed to form a team. Jinwoo began by purchasing more summoning scrolls. Player Jinwoo has purchased 3 low-level summoning scrolls. The first one, player Jinwoo has obtained the rank F summoned creature, Slime. The second one, player Jinwoo has obtained the rank F summoned creature, Horned Butterfly. And finally, player Jinwoo has obtained the rank E summoned creature, Poison Lizard. Observing the 3 creatures that had just appeared, he couldn't help but wonder. I pulled an E rank, I'm pretty lucky, aren't I? If I count Ramba as rank X, it means that in just 5 draws I hit that 5% rate twice. Jinwoo continued calculating carefully. Furthermore, the Poison Lizard's performance is quite decent. His gaze turned toward the slime. I'll just use this guy for a while and then toss him. Looking at the overall picture once more, Jinwoo gave his assessment. Alright, for now, this lineup will do. Pull summoned creatures, equip runes based on the combat situation, and then level them up. In his heart, he thought, in other words, it's about grinding runes, hunting monsters, and tearing summoning scrolls. The growth system of BOS is just like that. I can handle that level of grinding anytime. He had even already calculated the far future. And if I gather all 10 of those rank X summoned creatures, whether it's a full rank S team or the 100th floor of the Tower of Trials, I can sweep through everything easily. So first I must find the remaining X ranks. Jinwoo took a slow step forward. Alright. A confident smile appeared on his face. Now for the final step. Pulling out his phone, Jinwoo muttered, first, I need to find a dungeon. In his heart he thought, back when it was a mobile game, I just had to tap an icon and it was done. It looks like it won't be as easy as it was in the game. Then he wondered, so how does it work in reality? However, just a second later, his eyes widened. Jinwoo shouted at the top of his lungs. What the hell is this? The noise made people around him feel annoyed. Someone even grumbled. Does he think the player zone belongs to his family or something? Jinwoo began reading the information displayed on his phone screen. Even with summoned creatures. That important information was presented alongside an image of a horned cat. Today, we will learn about entering dungeons. But first, do you know that just having a summoned creature doesn't mean you can enter a dungeon? Can't you just go in? It also mentioned that dungeon gates appear randomly regardless of location, and the difficulty of a dungeon can be determined by the energy it emits. But regulations had changed, so no matter how easy a dungeon might be, only those who have officially registered as a player are allowed to enter. Jinwoo slumped helplessly onto a bench, his face showing his displeasure as he muttered, "Fate is truly like crap. Why did I wake up right after the law changed?" Ramba's hand lightly touched his shoulder. Her face was full of cheer. "Jinwoo, cheer up." This attitude made Jinwoo feel somewhat relieved. He patted her head and replied, "Thanks, Ramba." Suddenly, the phone in Jinwoo's pocket rang. The person on the other end was none other than Ajin. "Hello," she didn't beat around the bush and asked directly, "What time are you coming home? Mom's asking what you want to eat tonight." On this end, Jinwoo quickly replied, "I can find something to eat myself. More importantly, do you know about this?" Ajin asked back blankly. "Know about what?" He answered briefly, "The fact that you have to register as a player before you can enter a dungeon." This information made her jump up. "That's right." Jinwoo asked back, half joking, "You didn't hide it from me on purpose, did you?" She tried hard to explain. "How could that be? I really just forgot." Then she spoke seriously. "Anyway, that regulation is quite new. Because so many people died in dungeons, the government had to step in." Hearing this, Jinwoo couldn't help but be surprised. That many people died? Ajin continued with a detailed explanation. Calling it a disaster wouldn't be an exaggeration. It's so chaotic that now they actually have personnel blocking the entrance. You absolutely cannot enter a dungeon on your own. In his heart, Jinwoo summarized it in one word: what a pain. Next, he had to calculate his next move. Researching further, he found there were tests, combat evaluations, and registration. A real pain is it to control the number of players. If everyone let greed blind them and became a player, it would sooner or later create a rift in the social system. On the other end, Ajin mentioned another topic. "Oh right, Oppa, there's also a ranking system." Jinwoo asked back, confused. "Ranking?" She explained thoroughly. "That system ranks the top 100 players domestically and internationally every year. Our country can't even break into the global rankings. It's truly pathetic." And then she mentioned another name. If the legendary Jinwoo god appeared, our country's status would skyrocket. Jinwoo, having his sensitive point touched, quickly hung up. "I see. Anyway, thanks for letting me know. I'm hanging up." Afterward, he stared silently at his phone for a long while, finally making a decision. "Since I've finished my preparations for now, I'll just end today here." A pot of food on the stove was boiling over. Jinwoo's father and mother spent a quiet moment together. Suddenly, a noise made his father look up. Seeing that he was ready to leave the house, he couldn't help but feel worried. "You're up, it's only 6 in the morning." Jinwoo replied politely, "Yes, I have to go out early." His mother chimed in, "Jinwoo, are you leaving already? Eat some rice balls before you go." But Jinwoo politely declined. "No, it's all right." As he tied his shoelaces, he suddenly paused, then spoke softly, "Mom, Dad." A bright smile appeared on Jinwoo's face. I'm sorry for only showing you my bad sides for so long, and thank you, Mom and Dad. After saying that, he left the house, leaving the two elders with looks of shock. I'm going now. At this, Jinwoo's father scratched his head and muttered, "This kid makes a person feel so embarrassed." But his mother was worried about another issue. Will our Jinwoo be alright? Seeing her face like that, his father comforted her gently. Don't worry, the government has safety training these days. Let's hurry up and eat breakfast so we can go too. Jinwoo's mother looked toward the door and muttered, "Please be safe." To speak further, this was an era where all of humanity could become players. Besides that, among countries, South Korea had early on drawn attention due to an unusually high mortality rate in dungeons. The reason for this had a very simple answer. It was a type of protagonist syndrome caused by greed. To put it simply, players deluded themselves into thinking they were the main characters of a fantasy world. Because of this delusion, they recklessly charged into dungeons and died. It had even become such a serious problem that foreign press speculated that too many talented gamers had disappeared during this period. They analyzed that since South Korea was once a gaming powerhouse, it still ranked in the top 10 of every leaderboard. Hearing this, he couldn't help but feel bewildered. I didn't expect so many deaths just because of a delusion. In his heart, he continued to think more deeply. It's a bit funny to say because I was addicted to this game for 10 years myself, but honestly it sounds a bit pathetic. But don't they feel afraid? Only when the staff member at the desk made an announcement. "Next person please," did Jinwoo step forward. He handed over his information sheet along with a word, "This is my registration form." The staff member quickly replied, "All right, registration is all done." At this, Jinwoo asked further, "Excuse me, how many people will be granted player status?" The answer made him look visibly worried. "Only 50 people who pass the final exam will obtain the title of player." Jinwoo glanced behind him as he thought. By now, there must have been over 1,000 people in line behind him. This won't be easy. But in the end, he decided, but whatever. Jinwoo told himself, if I can't even overcome something as small as this, how can I be called one heaven? At a cafe for candidates waiting for results, some files were placed on the table with a frustrated remark. "I didn't expect that out of all these people, they only choose 50. Park Chang-seok, a judge from the general headquarters, looked at the stack of papers and commented, "If we want to recruit decent talent, we have to choose more." To be honest, the old geezers sitting in the air-conditioned rooms are making everything stagnate. Unexpectedly, before he could finish his thought, he was interrupted by an attack. What was that? The person who walked in spoke mockingly, "Hey there, Park Chang-seok." Kim Kang-ho looked at the scene before him and added a challenging word. "You cleared out my brats, yet you look pretty relaxed." Park Chang-seok's face immediately became furious. "You crazy bastard." He also quickly made use of his summoned beast. A party was quickly formed. Passers-by who saw this scene couldn't help but exclaim, "That's the General Headquarters Martial Alliance. Of all the places not to go, they come right here." Jinwoo was also drawn to the commotion. He looked at the tension between the two of them. What's going on? Jinwoo's face showed he wasn't particularly amused by this. What kind of crazy situation is this? The attention of everyone around was completely focused on the tense scene. What suddenly happened? Some of them even trembled with fear. "What should we do? We won't die, right?" Just then an Alliance member spoke up. "It's all right, that person is Park Chang-seok. People call him the Alliance's Yaksha Destroyer." Jinwoo also turned his eyes toward them. He looked at Kim Kang-ho, a thought flashing in his mind along with a guess. "Don't tell me they're now using summoned beasts for evil deeds." Park Chang-seok shouted a signal, his voice carrying the weight of an emergency. "Everyone call out your summoned beasts and use protective shields." Jinwoo quickly followed suit and summoned Ramba. She was still looking around blankly, not understanding what was happening. As soon as the first word was about to be spoken, Jinwoo immediately covered Ramba's mouth. He whispered a reminder, "Sorry, but you promised not to talk outside." On the other side, Kim Kang-ho continued to mock. "So you're some kind of apostle of justice." He wasted no time, immediately ordering his red demon to charge and attack. "Let's see how long you last." Jinwoo hid in a corner, cautiously observing the situation. "If I get involved for no reason, it'll just be a headache." He made a decision. "For now, I'll just see how they fight." The space was quickly and heavily devastated. the fire butterfly continuously fired fireballs, landing on the ground and creating horrific explosions. However, Kim Kang-ho's red demon was completely unscathed. This made him even more arrogant. Is that all you've got? Opposite him, Park Chang-seok was starting to feel frustrated. Meanwhile, Jinwoo muttered an observation. "This is," he exclaimed as if he couldn't believe his eyes. "That is so incredibly noobish." Even Ramba on his shoulder had the same shocked expression. "Is that even a fight?" Jinwoo quickly spoke as Ramba grabbed his hair. "That actually hurts, Ramba." The people around began to whisper and discuss. "It looks like Park Chang-seok is being pushed back. What if he loses?" Every word they spoke radiated fear. No, that group definitely won't hesitate to kill civilians too. Hearing this, Jinwoo couldn't help but ask himself, what should I do? He looked at the situation and began to analyze. If I step in to help and get caught up in this, while the red demon was gradually gaining the advantage, I'll die here before I even get to live a peaceful life. Thinking was doing, Jinwoo approached and spoke to Park Chang-seok. "Excuse me." Seeing this, he tried to stop him. "It's dangerous, please step back." But Jinwoo flatly refused. "No, the skill timing of that fire turtle is off." Then he pointed behind him along with a word of guidance. "Look at the buffers behind that red orc." Jinwoo forced Park Chang-seok to look at the demon behind them. They're near a fire resistance buff. With that timing, a fire element strike will never land. Hearing this, Park Chang-seok also quickly thought to himself, every time the buffers in the back used a skill, the orc's body turned red. Is that fire resistance? He quickly thought of a countermeasure. The red demon on this side is preparing to attack, but Park Chang-seok was one step ahead. Right now, fire turtle. An extremely powerful pillar of fire was fired, aimed straight at the red demon. It cried out in pain as it failed to defend itself in time. Witnessing this, Park Chang-seok couldn't help but cry out in excitement, "Awesome! Did it really work?" Meanwhile, Kim Kang-ho on the opposite side roared in anger, "Damn it, how did you know?" The moment the faint clouds of smoke gradually dissipated was also when Park Chang-seok's wood-type summon launched its attack. Kim Kang-ho could only watch helplessly as his support demon was struck. This is insane. Park Chang-seok's group of summons took advantage of the opportunity and struck simultaneously. The red demon took the full force of a rain of fire and was burned to a crisp. Kim Kang-ho watched them disappear, only able to mutter in horror, "How can this be possible?" He felt terrified as he saw Park Chang-seok slowly advancing toward him. Wait a minute. At this moment, only extreme fear remained on Kim Kang-ho's face. "I'll turn myself in, I surrender, I was wrong." However, Park Chang-seok's wood-type summon had already moved. It bound him tightly, ignoring the pleas that rang out, "Please spare me, I'll never be a gangster again." Park Chang-seok spoke in a low, cold voice, "Shut up. You know that members of the Alliance are to be executed immediately." Kim Kang-ho watched helplessly as several branches wrapped around his body. "No." Park Chang-seok declared coldly, "Right." The command was given and that summon immediately tightened its grip. Kim Kang-ho's body turned into a bubble and exploded. At this point, the people around finally felt somewhat relieved. Is it over? They began to cheer for Park Chang-seok. "We won, Park Chang-seok won, you're amazing." Park Chang-seok even looked excited seeing Kim Kang-ho's death. That guy deserved it, the headquarters is the best. This new measure of value made Jinwoo wonder to himself, even if he was a criminal killing someone like this. When a person is killed right before your eyes, this world is truly no longer the place I once knew. His gaze became sharper. If I don't have true determination, it will be hard to survive. Meanwhile, Park Chang-seok was slowly walking toward him. "Sir," he opened politely, "thank you very much for earlier. I am Park Chang-seok, an examiner from the player headquarters." A sincere thank you followed. "Thanks to you, I was able to catch that terrorist." Jinwoo shook his hand and replied, "It was nothing." Park Chang-seok continued to ask about something else. "I want to send you a reward. May I ask which guild you belong to?" At this point, he honestly explained, "The thing is, I haven't registered with the headquarters yet. Is that okay?" Hearing this, Park Chang-seok couldn't help but feel astonished. "What? You recognized it in the blink of an eye among tens of thousands of types of summons, yet you haven't officially registered." Park Chang-seok continued to suggest, "Then do you have your ID card? We just need to verify your identity." Jinwoo quickly replied, "Yes." He took the ID and handed it to him. Park Chang-seok politely followed up, "Thank you." He spoke briefly about the procedure. After the background check, a reward appropriate to the regulations will be given. Hearing this, Jinwoo replied simply, "I see." He smiled and turned to leave. Well then, I'll leave it to you. Park Chang-seok's expression changed almost immediately. He pressed the button to make a call, then entrusted a task to the person on the other end. It's me, I just sent you some data. The subject of the investigation is none other than Baek Jinwoo. Yes, Baek Jinwoo, please investigate him for me. Meanwhile, Jinwoo himself was still completely unaware of this. He returned to the place where Ramba had been summoned. A cake was placed in front of her. Hey, it must have been frustrating not being able to talk earlier, right? Ramba's eyes sparkled at the sight of the food. Watching her enjoy the cake, Jinwoo could only remark to himself, truly simple. He felt much more relieved as he continued to think, I heard that some players even argue with their summons, but with Ramba it's easy. Just a cake settles everything. Then he calculated something else. Either way, everything will be fine, won't it? In his head, Jinwoo was remembering the fight earlier. I didn't intend to get involved at first, but if I hadn't, everyone might have died there. He sighed again. The world has changed much more than I imagined. Jinwoo showed his clear determination. I can't delay going hunting any longer. Regarding the targets aimed for, next is first to gather summoning scrolls as fast as possible and summon the next creature. Among those, the reason for this choice is that the top priorities are the Spearman and the Dragon Mage. Since they are E rank and D rank, I can get them from low-grade summoning scrolls. On this side, Ramba was already full. Jinwoo stood up and gave a signal, all right. On his face was a bright smile, shall we head out? Right in the middle of a bustling park, Park Chang-seok exclaimed, what? He hurriedly asked again. Baek Jinwoo has been hospitalized for 3 years due to a car accident. At the same time, Park Chang-seok also realized, no wonder he's an unregistered player. Old stories were brought back because of that. Thinking about it, 3 years ago was exactly when the world turned upside down. With that kind of chaos, an accident occurring was a common thing, so thinking about it in some way, it made sense. The person from the headquarters quickly added, yes, moreover, he applied for player registration immediately after being discharged. Hearing this, he was startled. What? In a rush, Park Chang-seok looked over every line of Jinwoo's information. Looking at the paper, he muttered, is it for real? What the hell? The other person found it strange and asked, is there a problem, senior? However, he immediately denied it. It's nothing. Pondering for a moment, Park Chang-seok suddenly suggested, by the way, regarding the examiner assigned for this month, tell them I will personally take over this time. Don't ask for the reason. The other end quickly replied, yes, I understand. Following that was a beep, signaling the end of the call. Leaving Park Chang-seok in deep thought, waking up from an accident is one thing, but applying for player registration immediately upon waking up, his adaptability must be extremely fast. The more he thought, the brighter the smile on his face became. Baek Jinwoo, he might become an extraordinary talent. On the other hand, Jinwoo was currently inside a formal building. He took slow steps, accompanied by fresh sounds of admiration. Jinwoo looked ahead apprehensively. He knew there would be many people, but seeing the stifling crowd, he asked doubtfully, are all these people here for training? Then he thought to himself, so I have to surpass all these rivals to become a player. Even so, he was very relaxed. That's as easy as a piece of cake, because no one understands this game better than I do. Just then, another rhythmic sound of footsteps rang out. Before long, the examiner spoke up, is everyone present? This made Jinwoo look on eagerly. It's starting. However, Jinwoo's face quickly froze in shock. Right in front of him, Park Chang-seok declared clearly, I am Park Chang-seok, the headquarters examiner. I will now begin the training session before the written exam. Then after a while, when the sunlight had gradually softened, Jinwoo and Park Chang-seok were sitting together in a cafe. You were a bit surprised, weren't you? Facing that question, he replied awkwardly, yes, well, I didn't expect the examiner to be you. Park Chang-seok smiled. I guess this is what people call fate. How was the training session? However, this time Jinwoo continued to hesitate. Recalling earlier, Park Chang-seok had taught them a few things. This is a format that frequently appears in the written exam. Hearing this, Jinwoo was startled when considering the combinations of summoned creatures. Here, the movement from him also accidentally woke up Ramba, who was sound asleep. What the? Meanwhile, he was feeling very indignant. Are you kidding? Isn't this the combo I once popularized years ago? Use it only after asking my permission first. Even so, he just held back awkwardly. Not bad. Park Chang-seok's laughter rang out. I'm glad to hear that. Then he suddenly cleared his throat. The reason I called you out privately, Jinwoo, is because of the reward I mentioned last time. With a serious attitude, Park Chang-seok began to speak, but before that, there's something I want to ask you. Jinwoo replied curiously, "What is it?" Upon receiving consent, he immediately asked, "Jinwoo, were you perhaps a gamer?" Hearing that title, he looked surprised. A gamer. He also quickly added, "Gamer is what we call those who played Summoner Wars before. Regardless of how long they played, as long as they played that game, they're called gamers. Top 70% of Korean rankers were all gamers." Thanks to that explanation, Jinwoo understood. Thinking about it, it was a bit strange for someone who wasn't even an official player to know about runes and summoned creatures. Then he admitted, "Yes, well, I did play it." That answer made Park Chang-seok excited. "I knew it. May I ask how long you played?" Facing this question, Jinwoo was somewhat hesitant. It was a dead game, there weren't even that many players. If he said 10 years, he would be recognized immediately. After a moment of hesitation, he gave a number in a low voice, about 1 year. But contrary to his worry, Park Chang-seok suddenly got worked up. "Are you for real?" His over-the-top reaction made Jinwoo bewildered. "Yes, is there a problem? What on earth, did I downplay it too much?" As for Park Chang-seok, he was as if he had just found a treasure. "You really played that dead game for a whole year? That's truly impressive." Conversely, he was very uncomfortable, unable to argue. Next, Jinwoo replied awkwardly, "Yes, it just happened naturally." On the other hand, Park Chang-seok was very joyful. "Most Korean rankers played for less than half a year, yet you played for a full year." But very quickly he returned to the main topic. "Forgive me for losing my composure. I have prepared 2 reward options for you. Choose the one you want." Jinwoo nodded upon hearing that. "Okay, I understand." Thus, he quickly listed them out. "First, I will not only use my authority to grant your player registration immediately, but I will also guarantee you a job position at the headquarters." Jinwoo listened while resting his chin in a nonchalant manner. The second option, Park Chang-seok emphasized on purpose, a 5 million won cash reward. He immediately judged, this is the kind of choice that's as clear as day. As for Park Chang-seok, he was laughing triumphantly to himself. How about that? Not only registered but a job at the headquarters, a place even harder to enter than a large corporation. Of course he'll pick the first one. But Jinwoo's voice rang out decisively, "I'll take the money." Hearing that, he was very shocked. "What did you say? What? But if you don't, player registration will take quite a while, right?" On the other hand, Jinwoo coldly drew a line. "I appreciate your concern, but I'll be fine." At the same time, he proactively stood up. "I can handle the registration myself, and I don't actually have any intention of joining the headquarters. I'm busy finding summons, I don't have time to waste." Thus, he went to take the exam with his summoned creatures. And before long, the staff called his name, "Candidate Jinwoo." He replied with a ready attitude, "Yes." Next, she professionally gave instructions as heard earlier in the practical part. "You just need to conquer the daily dungeon. This time you will enter the 3rd dungeon. The format is participating." At this time, Park Chang-seok was observing them from behind. He himself was still bewildered. "I never thought he would refuse." Suddenly Park Chang-seok frowned in tension. Moreover, remembering earlier when a gasp of amazement rang out, "This is insane. He understands runes and summons deeper than anyone." The Research Institute people were very happy. "Why didn't I think of this sooner? Thanks to this candidate, Baek Jinwoo, I realized how narrow my vision was." Another was moved to tears. "South Korea finally has a talent." He even asserted that if everything went smoothly, this guy might even make it onto the leaderboard. This left Park Chang-seok dazed and confused. Is he really that good? Returning to the present, his regret grew even more. "This is the first time I've seen those arrogant professors react like that. I should have offered better terms, shouldn't I?" Just then, the staff pointed toward the portal. "The explanation ends here. You may enter now." Jinwoo moved closer to the entrance accordingly. Then, he entered with a sense of curiosity along with the gorilla and Ramba. "Shall we see?" The space transformed immediately. System energy enveloped him in a bright yellow light. Before long, they were standing in a completely different atmosphere. The dungeon description also appeared before his eyes. A room full of extremely poisonous slimes. Defeat the slimes and quickly escape the dungeon. Without further delay, Jinwoo gave the first command, "Ramba." Ramba acted energetically as soon as she heard, "I'll stack right away." And thanks to this resonance, the gorilla's power continuously advanced. The 3rd dungeon is a maze. Its structure is to defeat slimes while finding the way and finally face the boss. At the same time, it's a place where beginners waste all their time getting lost. After finishing his calculations, Jinwoo's lips quirked slightly. He created a shield and lunged straight ahead. However, the slimes are very slow, just ignore them and run straight. Ramba also shouted, "Let's go!" Jinwoo simultaneously thought, I got sick and tired of getting lost in this place, so finding the way is child's play. And with that confidence, they aimed straight for a door over there. As soon as the door opened, Jinwoo immediately ran through it. If I take the shortcut, it's as good as done. But right at this moment, danger warnings rang out one after another. Jinwoo now looked very expectant. Is this the first real encounter, right? Right before his eyes, a giant slime was already waiting. Giant slime. Jinwoo excitedly issued the attack command, Ramba. Ramba, standing nearby, energetically cast a spell, "Let's rock, let's go!" The gorilla charged head-on immediately. It jumped up high, preparing to strike the opponent. The gorilla used all its strength to deliver a powerful punch. Its continuous punches made Jinwoo exclaim, as expected, there's a reason why Ramba is considered too overpowered. He thought proudly to himself, even an F-rank summon can have its attack speed increased to that extent. Jinwoo stood watching and caught the excitement. He tried to imagine how terrifying it would be if that attack speed boost was applied to a stronger summon. On the other side, Ramba was energetically cheering for the gorilla. Perfect, so good, crush it. The system quickly displayed a notification. You have defeated the boss monster. It continued to confirm the time frame, dungeon conquered in 5 minutes 32 seconds. Jinwoo read it and sighed resignedly. So slow. Back when I was Jinwoo God, I took less than a minute. It can't be helped. With an F rank, the system continuously popped up notifications. Congratulations on setting a new record for South Korea. Special achievement unlocked. Jinwoo was stunned and muttered, what? The notifications kept coming in a rush. First achievement reward being delivered. High-grade summoning scroll ×3, additional reward being delivered. Low-grade abrasive ×12. This result was completely beyond his expectations. This is the new record for South Korea. Returning to the familiar room at the headquarters, a voice rang out in disbelief. Senior, look at this. The record has changed. The headquarters staff member widened her eyes and came over to look. What? Where? Her subordinate quickly pointed it out. The third beginner dungeon was conquered in 5 minutes 32 seconds. The staff member was stunned and muttered, in just 5 minutes? That's a huge reduction. Did Kang Jin-ho discover a new combo? She also saw the opponent's info card. Name, Jinwoo, age, 20, country, South Korea, date of birth. The staff member remarked honestly, never heard this name. Her subordinate judged doubtfully, I don't think he's a ranked player. This hypothesis made her even more astonished. So an unknown player broke the record, and it's the first place record too. News quickly spread to the headquarters meeting. A staff member whispered in a daze, this is truly incredible. She wasn't the only one. Another person was equally excited. In his heart, Park Chang-seok praised Jinwoo relentlessly. There's no doubt about it, he's the real deal. Baek Jinwoo is a national treasure. He officially made a firm resolution. No matter what, we must keep him. At the very least, if our country wants to survive, we must prevent him from naturalizing elsewhere. Park Chang-seok urgently issued instructions to his subordinates. Register Jinwoo as a player immediately. The female staff member asked back in shock, what, without even needing a combat evaluation? Park Chang-seok eloquently analyzed. As everyone knows, time attack is divided into domestic and global rankings. The first place position in South Korea held by Kang Jin-ho is 6 minutes and 41 seconds. The first place position globally held by Rachel is 2 minutes and 25 seconds. He personally stood up to convince everyone. Jinwoo has already surpassed the time of South Korea's top ranker. Would a player combat evaluation even have any meaning at this point? Park Chang-seok decisively concluded, I believe that those with talent must be granted special privileges. The magnificent headquarters of the General Command loomed grandly in their line of sight. Jinwoo was present there, feeling utterly bored. I didn't expect 5 minutes to be the top record. Is South Korea's level only this high? A familiar voice called out, Mr. Jinwoo. Park Chang-seok welcomed him with a radiant smile. I've been very eager to meet you. Seeing that display, Jinwoo felt a sudden chill. It was actually a bit scary. As soon as they met, he rambled on, I saw your time attack record, it's truly magnificent. Just how did you break the South Korean record on your very first try? The labyrinth of the third dungeon is incredibly complex, isn't it? Jinwoo could only laugh it off perfunctorily. I guess so. he thought to himself awkwardly. I feel like I'm being praised for being a fish that's good at swimming. Park Chang-seok personally handed him a card. First of all, please accept this. Jinwoo took the card and muttered in surprise, "This is..." He immediately explained excitedly, "This is a player card. You have been granted an exception to be registered as a player immediately." Park Chang-seok added grandly, "Because you have nothing left to prove." Upon receiving the card, Jinwoo was also very satisfied. "This isn't bad, is it?" Suddenly, he continued hesitantly, politely expressing his curiosity. "By the way, may I ask how you managed to break the record?" Holding the player card in his hand, Jinwoo suddenly hesitated. He considered it carefully. "If I share what I know now, South Korea's level will skyrocket in the blink of an eye." Jinwoo had to think thoroughly about this. The problem was what happened after that. In the best-case scenario, they would worship Master Jinwoo God, and if lucky, I'd enjoy fame and fortune with government backing. But he also thought of the worst-case scenario, being kidnapped by evil people, interrogated and stripped of everything I know. Or even being coerced and losing everything. After weighing his options, Jinwoo finally spoke carefully. First, he bluntly questioned Park Chang-seok. "You know that question you just asked was extremely impolite, right?" He understood and took the initiative to apologize. "Yes, I'm sorry." Park Chang-seok spoke candidly. A gamer's strategy is only shared among fellow gamers. It's extremely sensitive information. But he still persuasively insisted. "But please understand that South Korea is starving for talent to that extent." Jinwoo could feel Park Chang-seok's determination. He didn't look like a bad person. He silently evaluated the other's behavior. He transferred the promised money immediately. His personality is okay, and he seems very reasonable. He smiled with interest, an idea striking him. What if I try to use the government? If I play this right, I might even grow faster than working alone. Therefore, Jinwoo responded to the judge, Park Chang-seok. He formally proposed, "Shall we move to another place for a moment? Let's meet privately." The location was a cozy nearby cafe. Park Chang-seok directly expressed his desire. "I'll be blunt, please help us." He sincerely emphasized, "Our headquarters needs your knowledge, Mr. Jinwoo." Park Chang-seok also frankly revealed, "We investigated and heard you were bedridden in the hospital for 3 years." Jinwoo looked slightly annoyed. "Did you guys run a background check on me?" To that he had to confess, "I'm sorry, but unregistered players with high skills are very likely to be from the Alliance." Jinwoo snapped back with a sharp look. "Now that I'm registered, there won't be any more investigations, right? Don't ever do that again." Park Chang-seok could only obediently promise, "Yes." Jinwoo's indifferent attitude also made him suspicious. Normally, people would be terrified at the mention of the government and try their best to cooperate. Yet this guy showed no such signs. He knows his own value very well. Jinwoo set down his coffee cup and began discussing business seriously. "First of all, I've actually thought about this. What do I get if I help the government side?" Park Chang-seok stated firmly, "Cooperation from me. You don't seem to fully understand this part yet." He proudly introduced himself to Jinwoo. "It's a bit embarrassing to say, but I actually hold a fairly high position within the headquarters." Park Chang-seok continued his explanation. "Headquarters judges are elected by public vote, so if my performance is good, I can receive more votes and climb even higher." Jinwoo vaguely understood the definition, "So he's like a politician." After explaining, Park Chang-seok expressed firmly, "Therefore, within the scope of my authority, I will provide you with every possible support." Jinwoo silently considered, "That sounds a bit unappealing. The compensation is vague, and since he's a public official, he can't just use the budget however he wants." Finally, he reached a decision of his own. "Then let's do this." Jinwoo tapped his hand on the table and spoke seriously. For just 1 month, Park Chang-seok couldn't help but be surprised by the short time frame. "What?" Jinwoo smiled confidently as he explained the condition. "Since I just registered for 1 month, I will request your support during my growth." He also clearly laid out the terms. "If I find it satisfactory, we can continue to cooperate. If not, I will return everything I've received or give you an amount of information equivalent to that value." Park Chang-seok couldn't help but laugh at Jinwoo's cunning. "So what he's saying now is that he'll use me as his personal assistant for a month?" he thought to himself with amusement. "What an arrogant kid, but there's no other way." Then Park Chang-seok reached out his hand and accepted generously. All right, because he was certain that by staying close to this kid, he would definitely gain much more. Park Chang-seok shook hands with Jinwoo, finalizing the deal. Then let's do that. Jinwoo continued his discussion with Park Chang-seok. He seriously made his first request. First, there's something I want to ask. Please don't let the news of my new record spread outside. Jinwoo expressed sincerely, I'm worried about my safety. Park Chang-seok suddenly felt curious, but he quickly understood. No. He silently judged in his heart. A headquarters that can't even handle a single gang, how could it protect a top-tier talent? Park Chang-seok clenched his fist due to the tension. Baek Jinwoo knew that very well too. Finally, Park Chang-seok agreed, I understand, I will do my best to control this. He quickly added, but over time some information will still leak out, that is inevitable. Without needing to hear the end of the sentence, Jinwoo stood up immediately, that will be enough. He left decisively, then I'll take my leave now. Park Chang-seok could only bid him a flustered farewell, see you next time. Ultimately, Jinwoo had achieved what he wanted. Good, now I've made him keep quiet. He opened his phone, thinking excitedly, time to check the rewards I received earlier. Jinwoo checked the system and was full of praise. He muttered in a daze, these rewards are massive. The polish is ordinary, but there's even a high-level summoning scroll. Jinwoo nodded in assessment, just as expected from a first clear achievement reward. It's something each player can only receive once. But then he hesitated, I really want to open them right now, but gambling with only 3 scrolls is a bit risky. Jinwoo blurted out a whisper, maybe it's better to sell them for cash. Suddenly he remembered something, oh right, I still have that. Jinwoo pulled out his phone immediately. It was the player network, a place that only registered players could use. Most item transactions were carried out through here. Jinwoo pulled out his phone immediately. It was the player network, a place that only registered players could use. Most item transactions were carried out through here. He unconsciously recalled Park Chang-seok's words when installing the app. You must use it, I highly recommend it. Therefore, Jinwoo started searching. Let's see. The prices that appeared made him gasp in shock. Jinwoo held the phone close to his face as if he couldn't believe his eyes. What? He muttered tremblingly. A high-end item costs as much as 3 million won. Jinwoo quickly calculated in shock. So that means I just earned 900,000 won after only 5 minutes in a dungeon? This is insane. A capitalist spirit suddenly rose within him, and this is only at this level. Once my stats increase even further. The prospect of wealth left Jinwoo mesmerized as he thought, Mom, Dad, and Ajin too, I'll never let everyone worry about money ever again. The whole family will be happy. He began seriously filtering items. First, I'll sell these high-level scrolls, then use that money to buy back low-level summoning scrolls. The military instructor and the fire dragon mage are both broken summons that can take down even rank S until I summon those two. I'll only open low-level scrolls. His shopping cart was also set up, while selling the 3 high-level scrolls. Browsing for a while, Jinwoo realized an inconsistency. Low-level ones are usually accumulated when going through dungeons. Why do they cost as much as 5,000 won per scroll? And although the number of sellers clearly outweighed the buyers, no one seemed to be selling them any cheaper. An idea struck Jinwoo's mind. At times like this, he made a call to someone, and the person on the other end picked up immediately. Hello. The person he called was Ajin. Big brother, what's up? Jinwoo thought cunningly. Time to use my sister's luck. The explanation of the situation didn't take long. Ajin quickly pointed him in the right direction. The headquarters is buying those up. Jinwoo asked back, confused. The headquarters? Why? The other end replied nonchalantly. I heard it's to support new gamers or something like that. Ajin kindly explained the process. They use the national budget to buy summoning scrolls in bulk, and the floor price is always 5,000 won. But they only buy a limited amount each day. She emphasized, since you can always sell to the headquarters, no one wants to lower the price, they just hold the price and wait. Thanks to Ajin, Jinwoo realized, so that's how it is. Ajin quickly added, but it looks like that policy is about to be abolished. He asked in surprise, why is that? She pointed out directly, it's an old policy from the early days, so now those low-level scrolls that the headquarters doesn't even want to use are piling up like mountains. This was exactly what Jinwoo needed to hear. Is that so? Thanks for letting me know, I'm hanging up. He smiled triumphantly, deciding to take full advantage of this opportunity. So low-level scrolls are in excessive surplus, huh? The next day, at Park Chang-seok's office, he beamed as he welcomed the key figure. Welcome, Jinwoo. Park Chang-seok laughed heartily. You must have missed me a lot to come back so soon. Jinwoo intentionally evaded. Yes, something like that. He asked warmly, is there something you need me for? Jinwoo spoke hesitantly, politely stating his request. Well, I was wondering if I could get some low-level summoning scrolls. Park Chang-seok was equally surprised. What, not mid-level or high-level ones? He continued to ask enthusiastically, how many are you planning to take? Jinwoo settled it immediately. As many as possible, please. Park Chang-seok whispered seriously. As many as, he thought carefully. I receive 50,000 scrolls every day, so giving him a few wouldn't be a problem. But Park Chang-seok directly set a boundary first. I can give them to you, but if you're planning to resell them for profit. Jinwoo explained nonchalantly, it's not like that. Anyway, they're just gathering dust on the market, so I thought I'd rather use them myself. Hearing this, he understood immediately. So you've already made your calculations. Park Chang-seok began to have a different assessment of him. Baek Jinwoo is a player completely different from the rest. If someone like him is going through the trouble of collecting low-level scrolls like this, then he's clearly plotting something very special. He responded generously, all right, but I have one condition. Jinwoo looked surprised. A condition. Now Park Chang-seok decisively demanded, give me a decent piece of news as a sample. He explained very reasonably, I am a congressman at the headquarters elected by the people. If I am caught arbitrarily handing out secret scrolls bought with taxpayers' money, the people will lose trust in me. Park Chang-seok stated frankly, so if you provide information to me, I will give you back a corresponding number of low-level secret scrolls in return. You see, I at least need some safety nets for myself. It seemed Jinwoo had anticipated this, so he won't hand them over for free. He became even more confident. Even better, that means if I give him good information, he will consider it to be of equivalent value. Jinwoo accepted easily. Sounds good. He began to reveal an issue. First of all, there is something called a streak of achievements. Park Chang-seok had clearly never heard this phrase. A streak of achievements. Jinwoo continued to clarify, that's right. Currently, the reward for the number 1 domestic achievement is set at 3 high-level secret scrolls for each dungeon. But when another player breaks that record, they can receive the reward once more. For example, with a performance of 5 minutes 32 seconds compared to 6 minutes 20 seconds, they would receive high-level summoning scroll times 3. So if players take turns shortening the record by just 1 second each time, they can maximize the total value of rewards received. The more they do that, South Korea's national strength will also increase accordingly. Park Chang-seok quickly noted this clever method. I see, actually that's a method we used before. Most current gamers have already received that reward once. He agreed immediately. However, there are still many players who have never received any rewards, so I don't think this will cause any problems. Jinwoo nodded briefly. I understand. He continued to reveal, and the entire information I'm proposing is the complete strategy for the 3rd dungeon. Park Chang-seok clapped his hands loudly in excitement. I knew it. He asked with wide eyes, that's the method you used this time, isn't it? Jinwoo felt a bit tired from that enthusiasm. No, that's something the 5 emperors once used. He continued to present the execution method. That's right, with this method, anyone who follows it can complete the dungeon in about 3 minutes. Park Chang-seok cheered excitedly. 3 minutes, just what kind of thing is that? Suddenly Jinwoo seriously interrupted him. He quickly held out a hand with 5 fingers. Before going deeper into that, we should decide on a fair price for this information. In addition to the low-level secret scrolls you promised, I want 50 more high-level summoning scrolls. What do you think? Park Chang-seok gasped in shock. Excuse me, 50 scrolls is 150 million won. Jinwoo remained firm. To be honest, that price is still quite cheap. He bluntly emphasized, this tactic is effective even in high-level dungeons, not just those low-level ones, and the amount of achievement rewards you'd receive from that alone is already worth billions. Naturally, Park Chang-seok couldn't argue, that was true. Finally, he decided to accept the deal. Agreed. Park Chang-seok announced excitedly. If your information is accurate, I'll have the 150 million won transferred immediately, and we will provide you with 10,000 low-level summoning scrolls every day. Satisfied with this transaction, Jinwoo smiled and assured him, you won't regret this deal. It was late afternoon when a staff member's voice rang out, Judge, everyone has gathered. The members of Park Chang-seok's team had assembled. One of them wondered, why gathering so suddenly right at quitting time? A smile was on Park Chang-seok's face. I called you all here because there's something I want to test. The young man on the opposite side felt excited upon hearing that. Oh ho, the judge never calls us like this for no reason. So this definitely isn't a normal test, right? Park Chang-seok began his presentation. Everyone already knows the news that the record for the third dungeon was just broken, right? Those listening all focused on that topic. I've heard about that. I think his name was Jinwoo. Park Chang-seok's face was full of confidence as he revealed, "This time I've obtained an extremely great strategy from abroad. I tested it on the player Jinwoo and the results were extremely satisfying." However, those opposite him were a bit bewildered. "Is that for real? So that's why you announced not to reveal this to the outside." They were sharp enough to guess the purpose. "So the reason you called us is..." Park Chang-seok didn't hesitate to admit it. "That's right," he announced seriously. "From now on, we will perform timed trials at the third dungeon. Then start preparing the lineup by summoning a key creature. The key summoned beast to conquer this dungeon is this little guy here." Looking at the spotted Komodo, the other members were all confused. "Isn't that just a spotted Komodo dragon?" The spotted Komodo is a summoned beast of the spotted lizard species, approximately the size of an adult human. It has high durability and decent attack power, a typical bruiser type. At least that's the common information everyone knows. The basic info of one is as follows: Spotted Komodo rank B, height 170 cm. An all-around summon beast capable of both tanking and dealing damage. However, in reality, because it is rank B, it is not easy to raise. Compared to other B ranks, both its damage dealing and tanking abilities are very mediocre, making it a summoned beast often ignored by players. However, players do not know that the primary food source for the spotted Komodo is the giant slime. Just by feeding it right inside the dungeon, it can hunt giant slimes, creating a difference like heaven and earth. At a high-rise building now, a series of notifications appeared one after another. Rookie 3rd Dungeon, Domestic Rank 1, Park Chun-sik Clear Time, 5 minutes 31 seconds. Rookie 3rd Dungeon, Domestic Rank 1, Lee Dongmyung Clear Time, 5 minutes 29 seconds. Those participating in the test were all excited. "Judge, what you said is all true. We reached the boss room in less than 4 minutes. That Komodo dragon's appetite is no joke. This little guy is truly a savior." They quickly concluded, "So from now on, we don't have to worry about cleaning up the aftermath. We can even challenge the world record." Time continued to pass. The next day, news was on the screen. South Korea continuously breaks records at the third dungeon. Is the headquarters Yaksha Park Chang-seok the man behind this? Below was another article. Judge Park Chang-seok collected valuable information at a low price from abroad. Can they challenge the world record? The citizens were extremely excited about this growth potential. Reading this, Park Chang-seok couldn't help but feel satisfied. This made everything certain. Jinwoo's value has already far surpassed that of an ordinary first-year gamer. He reached a conclusion again. "All right, I've decided. I will form a specialized team exclusively for Jinwoo." Park Chang-seok was holding a stack of files in his hand. As for the members, he laid them out on the table. These 3 should be fine. Elsewhere, Jinwoo's hand holding the phone was shaking uncontrollably. An unhideable excitement was on his face. "Has making money always been this easy? Mr. Park Chang-seok is truly generous." Even Ramba raised her voice. "With this much money, how many cream-filled cakes can we buy?" Jinwoo continued to open the information panel. Right in front of him now was the summoning scroll storage. Low-grade summoning scroll x 10,000. After reading, he muttered with satisfaction, 10,000 low-grade summoning scrolls that the headquarters staff sent this morning. He kept his promise, so I have to fulfill my end of the bargain as well. He casually opened a water bottle, then turned to the person beside him and asked, "Ramba, are you ready?" She replied eagerly, "Ready." The water in the bottle was poured out gently. Now, what they were actually doing was praying before opening the blind bags. "Dear Lord Buddha, Allah, spirits of heaven and earth." Ramba prayed fervently, "Please let our Jinwoo summon a masterpiece." It was a summoning ritual she had performed since the time of Jinwoo God. Once the procedure was done, Jinwoo finally took out a summoning scroll. "All right, let's do this." The moment for the endless summoning sequence began. With unwavering faith, he forcefully tore the scroll. But life always slaps you in the face at the most crucial moments. Jinwoo lay sprawled on the ground, surrounded by a swarm of low-grade summoned creatures. "I've opened 3,600 scrolls in just 1 hour. By now, some decent item should have dropped, right? Why is everything F rank?" Ramba poked a finger into his cheek. You dummy, of course not yet. She stated seriously, do you think an X rank like me drops that easily? Only to be questioned back by Jinwoo. Why not? Didn't I hit the jackpot with you on the very first try? Hearing that, Ramba simply explained, that was just pure luck. Then she kindly clarified the odds to pull an X rank. Even a million scrolls might not be enough, let alone one. Jinwoo couldn't help but be shocked. What are you talking about? Seeing his expression, Ramba finally realized, Jinwoo, you really don't know anything about the summoning system, do you? Jinwoo repeated blankly, the summoning system. At this moment, Ramba began to explain, the total number of summoned creatures is exactly equal to 10% of the player population. 8 billion people means 800 million summoned creatures. There are probably over 800 million horned caterpillars just like the ones you just pulled. She pointed her finger at his face as she added, her expression incredibly serious. Because we have an isolated status, only one single individual of each type exists. Hearing this, Jinwoo was so surprised he cried out, what? Why? But this time she could only shrug. I don't know the reason why either. Ramba explained further, as I said before, the only thing certain right now is that it seems only you can summon isolated X-rank entities, Jinwoo. His future felt bleaker by the second. There were tens of thousands of different types of summoned creatures, and she said each type has 800 million units. Jinwoo broke into a sweat as he calculated the odds. And I have to pull a one-of-a-kind X-rank among them. He became depressed almost immediately. Winning the lottery back-to-back would be easier than this. Ramba kindly offered a word of comfort, still, don't worry too much. She then added some other information. Once a summoned creature is pulled, it won't appear again unless you discard it. For example, suppose all 800 million horned caterpillars have been summoned. Here is the last friend. I am the 800 millionth friend. If that happens, horned caterpillars will never appear in future summons again. Despite hearing that, Jinwoo still felt exhausted. Even so, things are still going to be very difficult. At this, Ramba could only agree, that's true. Jinwoo, desperate, considered taking a risk. Should I just start opening the intermediate scrolls then? Fortunately, his remaining logic stopped him in time. No, that would be too inefficient. They're expensive and there aren't many of them on the market anyway. As he stood up, Jinwoo muttered, the win rate is nearly 0. Yet he still held up a piece of paper and declared loudly, the win rate is nearly 0. A plea echoed through the air, please drop. Ramba could only cheer enthusiastically, that's it, you can do it, Jinwoo. In the afternoon, the sunset sky cast warm colors over the rooftop. Jinwoo held his neck and groaned, I'm about to die. Ramba lay face down on a pillow, her voice coaxing, Jinwoo, I want cake. He sat there dazed, pondering while pinching her cheek. Thinking back, I spent all the money I earned in half a year in just 2 weeks. Ramba shouted in panic and worry, eye bags, Jinwoo is literally almost dead in more ways than one. Jinwoo glanced slightly to one side. He put his hands behind his head, staring at the ceiling. I even had to rent a room near the player area just to summon these creatures. Regardless, I can't just keep mooching off my parents forever. He sat up, bracing his hands on the mattress. Well then, shall we go back to synthesizing today? Wake up, Ramba. She stretched her body out, her voice full of excitement. Cake. Scene shifts to the general store, formerly a hotel, which had also only changed recently. After the Tower of Trials appeared, other buildings began to transform as well. For instance, this hotel building suddenly turned into a general store. I remember the buffet here used to be quite famous. Jinwoo and Ramba stood before a machine. He looked down at the number on the slip, whispering, number 125. She flew up beside him and warned, Jinwoo, you better not make a mistake. Remember to look closely before you put them in. Got it? He smiled and replied confidently, of course. Jinwoo glanced at the screen and saw his number had come up. It's our turn, let's go. The two entered a room. He spoke to her, I'm counting on you today too, Ramba. She flapped her wings and replied, we can do this. The system screen quickly appeared before Jinwoo's eyes. The words slowly manifested, welcome to the general store. Please try synthesizing your summoned creatures. Wind Spirit has been registered. He reached out and pressed the button on the screen. Do you want to synthesize the Wind Spirit? Information began to flood in continuously. F-rank Fire Lizard has been sacrificed and has disappeared. F-rank Fire Lizard has been sacrificed and has disappeared. F-rank Fire Lizard has been sacrificed and has disappeared. He watched, dizzy from the volume. That really is a lot. The mechanical sound from the system rang out, synthesis complete. EX rank Wind Spirits level has increased to 21. EX rank wind spirit's intelligence stat has increased by 2. Jinwoo clapped, but his face wasn't very happy. I spent 140,000 summons and she only reached level 21. Ramba asked excitedly, how is it? Do you see how strong I am, Jinwoo? He chuckled and replied while thinking to himself, our Ramba is the best. The max level is 100. At this rate, who knows when it'll be finished. A few days later, at a tall and massive building, the sound of clicking keys echoed along with a hum. Park Chang-seok said cheerfully, Byung-jin, you seem more upbeat than usual today, don't you? He could only bow and reply, yes, sir. Park Chang-seok flipped through some papers and thought, now that we've established a talent management team, I'll focus all our efforts on Baek Jinwoo to take over this area. He suddenly turned and asked, Byung-jin, what is Baek Jinwoo up to right now? He turned his head and answered hesitantly, well, it seems he's just continuously opening summoning scrolls. He picked up even more scrolls today. Holding the documents, his expression was a bit astonished. There's still more. Byung-jin added, and he even asked if he could use the 150 million he just received to buy more low-grade summoning scrolls. Park Chang-seok lowered the papers to look at him. What? Byung-jin put a hand to his chin, looking away. He asked if he could buy them below market price, so I told him I'd look into it for now. But lately, the Management Bureau has been keeping an eye on us because of these continuous large-scale orders. What should we do? He looked down at the pile of papers in his hand and thought, he's reinvesting a massive amount of money into low-grade summoning scrolls that can't even be sold. Something is definitely going on. Park Chang-seok clenched his fist and spoke up, sell them to him at half price. Hearing this, Byung-jin jumped up in shock. What, half price? He clasped his hands together and spoke slowly, if we're caught giving him special treatment like that. Park Chang-seok suddenly gave a suggestive smile. Don't worry too much, Byung-jin. Baek Jinwoo might become South Korea's hero in the future. And if it's revealed later that we went out of our way to support him, gaining even higher approval ratings will be a piece of cake. He placed a hand on the table and said, just do as I say for now. Park Chang-seok stood up, looking out the window. Besides, this matter is between me, Jae-ah, and Tae-seok. The scene changes. Outside, the sun was blazing. A withered Jinwoo sat counting papers on an empty lot. 1556, 1557, 1558. Ramba asked exhaustedly, Jinwoo, how much longer are we going to do this? I'll pray a little more. My hands are about to catch fire. He replied with a deadpan voice, until either I die or you do. Suddenly, the sound of footsteps rang out. Someone walked up slowly. The person spoke up to get their attention. Hello there. She smiled, hands on her hips, and said, pleasure to meet you. I'm Yu Jae-ah from the main headquarters. Jinwoo stood up, scratching his head. Well, what wind blew you here? Jae-ah reached out and explained, I'm here to discuss the summoning scroll purchase you talked about with the examiner last time. He immediately recognized the issue and replied, yes, that's right. As I mentioned before, is there any possibility to renegotiate the price? She put a hand to her cheek and smiled. Actually, we had an internal meeting about that. And after considering your recent contributions, Mr. Baek Jinwoo, Jae-ah smiled radiantly and continued, for this one time we've decided to give you a special discount, half price, 50% off. He was stunned. Really? Mr. Park Chang-seok is the best. She quickly added, that's right. And furthermore, our team has decided to provide you with an additional 100 million won. It's drawn from the Talent Management Award category. Jinwoo was incredibly excited by Jae-ah's words. She walked over, putting a finger to her lips as a signal. However, you must keep this an absolute secret. He quickly clapped his hands in excitement. Oh man, of course, don't worry about a thing. Jae-ah leaned into Jinwoo's ear and whispered, and we hope you understand that this is to build a good relationship between you and our side. Baek Jinwoo replied very quickly and happily, I totally get it. After saying that, she stepped back to leave. Well, you seem busy, so I'll take my leave. Jinwoo stood still, watching Jae-ah's retreating figure. He smiled to himself. I can really feel that examiner's goodwill and desire to support me. I need to quickly summon an X rank to repay him. Day faded into night. Ramba collapsed onto the pile of papers on the ground, exhausted. Jinwoo, how much longer do we plan on doing this? I'll pray just a little more. My hands are burning up. He replied to her blankly, until we pull the trainer and the dragon mage. Ramba cried out, tugging at 2 clumps of her own hair. I think I'm going crazy from this paper-tearing sound. Please just show up. Either the trainer or the dragon mage is fine. As Jinwoo's hands tore a piece of paper in half, a blinding light appeared immediately. please. A loud crack of thunder rang out. The paper was torn into 4 pieces and flew upward. What the hell? Jinwoo immediately remembered the previous scene. This effect was exactly like when Ramba appeared. She stood beside him, eyes wide. Could it be? A system notification appeared. Player Beak Jinwoo has received a summoned creature, X-rank Dragon Mage. The two of them were moved to tears. Ramba hugged him tightly. We did it, you did it. Jinwoo also burst into tears of joy. Oh man, I could die happy right now. He immediately adjusted his state. Wait, this isn't the time to rest. We can't stop now. We have to ride this gacha momentum. She stood there dazed. Gacha momentum. He reached out and took another scroll. This was the moment it exploded. Jinwoo tore it vigorously. When you're on a hot streak, you have to push through to get even more. Using low-grade summoning scroll, player Beak Jinwoo has received a summoned creature X-rank trainer. Ramba looked at the system board in disbelief. Is gacha momentum actually real? He bit his lip in extreme joy. Finally, Jinwoo looked at the people in front of him and thought. Finally, both of them are standing there looking at him. I've summoned them. Hunjio raised his head, looked around, and asked, where is this? Originally, this was a summoned creature few people liked because it was only E-rank with weak combat abilities. Jinwoo clenched his fist in excitement, but his true value lay in being a training freak. A genuine maniac who only knew about training. Possessed skills, significant growth through training, charming, and overwhelming other summoned creatures. Hunjio himself was very weak and his basic skills were nothing special. But once he achieved the trainer skill through growth, the trainer would unlock the hidden potential of other summoned creatures and increase their growth speed exceptionally. The Ramba in his imagination suddenly became terrifying. With this skill, I can make other summoned creatures stronger. This is how I'll always stay ahead of other rankers. She immediately showed her dislike. I really don't want to get stronger, Jinwoo. Jinwoo smiled, turning to wave at him. Hunjio, long time no see. He frowned at the name. Hunjio, that nickname. Hunjio immediately recognized Jinwoo. Could you be Jinwoo God, sir? He put his hands on his hips, chin up, and replied, that's right. He quickly knelt on one knee respectfully. Sir, this is amazing. After being put into an isolated state for unknown reasons, I thought I'd never see you again. Jinwoo just listened silently and thought, exactly as I thought. Both Ramba and Hunjio developed exactly as I raised them. Hunjio bowed his head low, his voice loud and clear. It is an honor to meet you again. Pakryong also slowly took a step forward. She asked somewhat shyly, Jinwoo God, sir, is it really you? He thought with some surprise. This is the first time I've actually heard Pakryong's voice. D-rank mage-type summoner, Dragon Mage. Summon, Dragon Mage, human race, isolated S-rank. She was a magic school dropout, but it turned out an ancient blast dragon was sleeping in her heart, turning her into a powerful fire damage assassin. Her skills were originally mediocre, but what would happen if Hunjio awakened them? Possessed skill, Dragon Blast Wave releases dragon-shaped flames forward. Predator permanently increases Dragon Blast Wave damage every time an endgame boss is defeated with this skill. She will receive an overpowered skill called Predator, because without Hunjio, that Predator skill cannot be unlocked. I am the only player who can use Pakryong skillfully. Pakryong was incredibly excited to see Jinwoo. Jinwoo God, sir, I really missed you. He smirked slightly, his lips curling up. Me too. A dangerous but adorable great dragon. After adjusting his state, Jinwoo gave an order. For now, don't say anything when others are around, and instead of Jinwoo God, just call me Jinwoo. The two of them obeyed immediately. Understood. Yes, Master Jinwoo. He put his hands in his pockets and looked up at the sky. Alright, let's go home and get some sleep. Inside the quiet room, the curtains were half closed. Jinwoo lay stretched out on the bed, looking withered. The three spirits sat below, huddling together. Hunjio spoke up to start a conversation. It's been a while, hasn't it? Pakryong hurriedly replied, it really has. He glanced down at Ramba. And you, should I call you Ramba? Her eyes sparkled as she looked up at Hunjio. You're Hunjio, right? We only met for about a month before we were separated, isn't that so? Since I was already an active summon when you were recruited, that makes me your senior. He crossed his arms, appearing indifferent, if you say so. Suddenly, Hunjio's expression darkened noticeably. However, that means nothing to me. I only have one thing to say. With a grim face, he leaned down toward the two girls. We are too weak. We still have a long way to go if we want to be of use to him in the future. That is why, even while he is asleep, we must continue to train. Hunjio pointed toward Pakryong. First, Pakryong, sit down and focus on sensing mana. After I awaken, I will unlock predation for you. Pakryong nodded slightly at him. Predation, I understand. Hunjio quickly turned a sharp gaze toward Ramba. Seeing this, she trembled violently, her face filled with terror. As for you, Ramba. Ramba shook as he continued, you need to increase your sword-swinging speed, so from now on you will do physical training with me. Physical training? Ramba cried out in protest. But I'm a spirit. A glint flashed in Hunjio's eyes. Don't you want to help our master? Ramba stammered in reply. Well, of course I do. His gaze locked onto hers immediately. Then start swinging that pan. Since today is the first day, we'll just do a light session of 5,000 reps. Ramba was utterly horrified upon hearing this. 5,000. Ramba's hand trembled as she tried to reach out toward him. Jinwoo. Before she could call for help, Hunjio picked her up like a piece of luggage. Please save me. In the early morning, a light breeze blew across the city. Inside a room, a voice rang out, What? You can't give me any more low-level summoning scrolls. Jai-Ah stood with one hand on her hip and the other raised as she replied, That's right. The office just issued an announcement. It's an order from the director of the headquarters. Park Chang-seok thought to himself with some concern. From the director, he should be extremely busy. Why would he suddenly take an interest in such trivial matters? She continued, causing his expression to worsen. In addition, they're requiring a detailed explanation regarding the use of all low-level summoning scrolls received so far. Park Chang-seok grit his teeth and cursed. Damn it. Jai-Ah rubbed her chin. It looks like Judge Im Hisu has a hand in this. With his mind in a whirl, he asked, That bastard is always looking for ways to oppose my views. She crossed her arms and sighed. What should we do now? I've prepared the explanation documents, but if the management bureau cuts the supply of scrolls, we won't have anything left to give Baek Jinwoo. Park Chang-seok clenched his fist and began to calculate. It's almost time to deliver the next shipment. Suddenly remembering something, his eyes widened. Park Chang-seok glanced at the phone ringing on the desk. Seeing this, Byung-jin stepped closer and asked, What is it? He spoke with a stern voice. It seems we won't need to provide him with any more low-level summoning scrolls after all. Park Chang-seok frowned and stared at her. More importantly, he didn't say more but thought to himself, I need to settle the score with that bastard Im Hisu. A few text messages popped up on the phone on the desk. I don't need many more low-level summoning scrolls. I've already gotten what I wanted, thanks. The scene shifted to Mount Gwanak, near Sianbawi Station in Gwasan City, Gyeonggi Province. Jinwoo stepped onto the ground and let out a sigh of relief. He raised a hand to block the sunlight from his eyes. So this is a regular dungeon. In BOS, there are 4 types of dungeons: the Tower of Trials, Daily Dungeons, Regular Dungeons, and the Chaos Dragon. First is the daily dungeon, where players can gather specific materials every day. Second is the Tower of Trials. Its difficulty is hellish compared to regular dungeons. This is the place for players to challenge their own limits. The rewards are extremely generous, but the mortality rate is correspondingly high. Third is the Chaos Dragon. That is a raid boss that you must form a party to challenge. But since it hasn't been updated yet, I'll save that explanation for later. Aside from those 3 types, all other areas are considered regular dungeons. That is where he will enter this time. Jinwoo checked his phone as he walked. In BOS, they are also called tiered dungeons, but in reality, they just appear randomly. It's possible to play in a party, but I don't really have much of a need to find a team. He stopped in front of a large mountain. Before Jinwoo stood a gate along with a keep out sign. He looked down and observed, after a dungeon is created and a certain amount of time passes, a dungeon break occurs and monsters spill out. I need to resolve this quickly. As Jinwoo approached, the gatekeeper spoke up. If you're planning to enter the dungeon, I need to check your license first. He pulled out his ID card and handed it over. Here. The man took it and quickly reviewed it. All right, verification complete. Jinwoo said nothing more and stepped into the gate. Please be careful. A flash of light occurred. Jinwoo slowly opened his eyes. Violent streaks of lightning immediately appeared around him. The sound of clashing metal rang out clearly in the silent space. A mass of people were rushing forward and attacking one another. So this is the scene, gloomy and chaotic. A conquest dungeon. The soldiers began to shout. The orcs were advancing and boiling water was being poured down on them. The giant orcs continuously climbed up, terrifying the people. They quickly shot it through the head, causing it to fall. Back in BOS, it was just a game, so it didn't feel real at all. A giant orc saw this and rushed forward to retaliate. Another person ran over to help a fallen comrade. Healer, we need a healer over here. Jinwoo's face darkened as he witnessed the scene. Is this the true face of war? He closed his eyes and calmed himself. I have to stay calm, I just need to do what I've always done. A shield quickly covered Jinwoo. He shouted aloud, all three of you appear at once, everyone get ready. A system panel appeared, EX rank Wind Spirit has been summoned. EX rank Military Instructor has been summoned. EX rank Dragon Mage has been summoned. Next, two more panels appeared, D rank Metallic Spirit has been summoned. D rank Mini Kong has been summoned. Among D ranks, no one is better than these guys. Sorry, Bong S letter 1E7 had to be sacrificed for Mini Kong. Jinwoo looked at her and ordered, Ramba, buff Hunjio's attack speed. She smiled brightly and took the order, understood. He looked toward her and called out, Pakryong, prepare to provide fire support for Hunjio from the rear. She gripped her staff and replied, yes, master. Jinwoo swung his arm forward. Mini Kong charged straight toward the orc boss. It immediately leaped high into the air to prepare an attack. The rules of the orc punishment dungeon were very simple. Just defeat the giant orc at the very back and it would all be over. A large explosion rang out, and the surrounding earth and stone shattered. Mini Kong was currently standing face to face with the giant orcs. Seeing someone attacking it, the orc raised its weapon high and let out a roar. The orc swung down hard at its head, but Kong raised its arms to block. Ramba stood on the outside, continuously buffing their strength to move forward. Hunjio only watched in silence without saying a word. Suddenly, a massive explosion occurred on the fortress. Hunjio's eyes flashed, and with just a few sword strikes, he took down a significant number of orcs. Jinwoo watched from above and was also incredibly amazed. Is it because they're X rank? He's on a completely different level compared to the Hunjio from the beginning of the game. He rubbed his chin and smiled. Anyway, it seems this is easier than I thought. The soldiers were overjoyed to see support arrive. Allies are here, they're so strong, are we going to make it? Mini Kong growled and charged at the giant orcs. The metallic spirit continuously healed them. Ramba dodged the blows thrown by the orcs while taunting them. Nai, you mad. Jinwoo almost got hit and was terrified. Ramba, stop fooling around. Hearing his voice, she flinched and turned around. Sorry about that. Hunjio rushed in from nowhere and punched the orc hard. How dare you throw an axe at my master, die. Pakryong then raised her staff and recited incantations in an incomprehensible language. She created a massive source of fire and controlled it to charge forward. Go, explosive fire dragon. A dragon quickly rushed out from within the magic staff. The explosive fire dragon launched dragon-shaped flames forward. The orcs screamed from the intense heat of the fire. Even so, some of them tried to remain standing despite being burned to that extent. The sound of rapid footsteps rang out. Hunjio didn't hesitate to deliver a fatal blow. The giant orc's head fell to the ground like a ball. A mechanical sound rang out, dungeon cleared successfully. Ramba excitedly raised her hands. Absolutely wonderful. Pakryong also leveled up. EX rank Dragon Mage level has increased to 5. EX rank Dragon Mage intelligence stat has increased by 2. Hunjio wasn't far behind and leveled up with her. EX rank Military Instructor level has increased to 5. EX rank Military Instructor critical rate has increased by 1%. As for Jinwoo, he received a gift from the system. Your reward has arrived. Mid-level summoning scroll ×1. He couldn't help but stare in shock. Great! A mid-level summoning scroll is worth 500,000 won. I just earned 500,000 won in 3 minutes. While the spirits were cheering happily, Jinwoo was thinking of something else. I need to find the next dungeon immediately. He clenched his hand into a fist. I can level up the summons and earn money at the same time. Jinwoo felt as if a new horizon had opened for him. It's time to change my life through non-stop grinding. The scene changed. In front of the doors of a large, luxurious building, Park Chang-seok gloomily rested his head on his arms at the table. Jae-ah stood nearby with her arms crossed and asked, exactly where did you get the confidence to place a bet like that? He replied dejectedly, but that bastard started it first. The director sitting in the middle rubbed his hands together and spoke up. Now, everyone, please calm down. I am Hisu smirked and spoke bluntly. It seems Judge Park Chang-seok is wasting the budget, so I was merely offering some advice. What kind of talent management team can't even train a single decent talent? The talents trained by Judge Park Chang-seok haven't been chosen as national representatives even once, have they? Are you acting like this because of that 3rd dungeon record set recently? Is it just because of that one thing? No matter how angry Park Chang-seok was, he only dared to think to himself, I am Hisu, that bastard. I want to say something in rebuttal, but the rankers trained by I am Hisu are chosen as national representatives every year. He may be a loathsome, arrogant prick, but he truly has the skills. But I won't just sit here and take it anymore. He thought carefully before asking aloud, what do you plan to do if a talent I train is chosen as a national representative? I am Hisu looked up and spoke with a disdainful tone. Oh, so you want to bet on it. There are only 10 national representative spots at most. Let's see whose talent climbs higher in the rankings. His expression changed as he replied, fine. He gave a wicked laugh and leaned in close. The loser must publicly admit the other judge is superior and resign. The penalty for breaking the agreement is 1 billion won. Park Chang-seok countered immediately. Let's draw up the contract right now. The director in the middle tried to intervene flusteredly. Please stop fighting. Jae-ah placed both hands on her hips and scolded. Are you serious? You're really going to do this just because you trust that Baek Jinwoo guy? He might be impressive, but at the end of the day, he's just a gamer. Compared to the current rankers, he's still far behind. He lowered his head slightly and replied with closed eyes. I know. Suddenly, the movement in Park Chang-seok's fingers stopped. But I believe in Baek Jinwoo. He will definitely provide us with vital information. Hearing this, she started to say, even if you say that, but was cut short. Chang-seok saw something unusual and stood up from his chair. What's going on? Byung-jin reported breathlessly, you told me to investigate the player who recently soloed dozens of D-rank dungeons. It was Baek Jinwoo. Both he and Jae-ah shouted in near disbelief. What? She asked him in bewilderment. A player who registered less than a month ago cleared D-rank dungeons in under 5 minutes. Park Chang-seok let out a satisfied laugh. See, I told you. He was so excited he raised both hands. What did I say? Didn't I tell you Baek Jinwoo is the top of the top? That slang is way too outdated though. Even though he was happy, Park Chang-seok still thought with a hint of panic. That's right, I always believed in you, Baek Jinwoo. On Jinwoo's side, he stepped out from the dungeon entrance. Jinwoo looked around and thought to himself, my eye for people is truly spot on. Inside a small room, light from the ceiling shone down. Jinwoo looked at his account balance with excitement, his cheeks turning red as he laughed. 16 million won. I actually earned 16 million won. Images from the past flashed through Jinwoo's mind. 4 days of grinding like crazy, 160 D-rank dungeons. Everyone fighting together. He looked at the pile of money and couldn't help but cry with joy. This was the amount collected after selling all the mid-level summoning scrolls. It really is my sweat, effort, and tears. Weren't we the ones who did the sweating? Finally, my time has come. Jinwoo sat up in bed and calculated. All right, first I need to divide this money into different accounts. This is the account for living expenses, rent, utilities, food, and other miscellaneous things. Jinwoo, I'll set up another family account so I can spend more freely later. And this is the savings account. I'll put away 10 million won each month to look after myself. He stared pensively at his phone, earning 10 million a month. It feels like a dream. Jinwoo looked at the balance on his phone and finally decided to use it to top up the game. Account exclusively for players. All the money here will be used to invest in the summoned beast. Money is only one part. The most important thing right now is increasing my value as a player. During the dungeon grinding, the kids all surpassed level 30, so it's time to equip and upgrade their runes. To do that, the only way is to grind the daily dungeons. Jinwoo thought for a moment and said to himself, and to clear the daily dungeons quickly, I need a core summon. He used his phone to open the app. I wonder if there are any good ones for sale on the market. The player web gave Jinwoo a fright, making his mouth drop open. He shouted as he looked at the price list. What? A C rank costs an average of 20 million, why is it so extortionately expensive? Thunderbank is 20 million, B ranks go up to 200 million, and as for A rank and S rank, you can search until your eyes turn red and not find anyone selling. At this rate, my account will evaporate in an instant. Jinwoo sighed, hugging his phone close. Using a high-grade summoning scroll, the chance of getting a B rank is only 1%, so that price is understandable. He immediately pulled himself together and looked at it, but it's all good. Jinwoo navigated through his phone and opened someone's personal profile. He pressed the call button and held the phone to his ear. This is exactly why I prepared a backup plan. Tseop suddenly burst through the door and shouted, Examiner. Park Chang-seok, who was sitting inside, asked calmly, what's with all the fuss? He answered anxiously, we just received a new request from player Baek Jinwoo. Hearing that made him jump, what? Park Chang-seok changed his tune, walking over to grab T-seop's hand. What did he request? Tell me quickly, you gave me a fright. Why is this guy so hairy? He said if we agree, he'll provide new information. T-seop held the phone in front of Park Chang-seok. Here, this is the content. A shopping list for summoned creatures. His eyes nearly popped out after looking at it. Buy all of this? He could only explain. He wants us to put up the money to buy this whole lot. Park Chang-seok frowned worriedly. If headquarters was willing to spend money on all of this, I wouldn't have used a C-rank summon in the first place. Did he say what we'd get in return if we buy them? T-seop's next sentence eased his worry. He promised to share the secret to conquering daily dungeons in the shortest time possible. Park Chang-seok looked up at him, not just the second or fourth dungeon but all the dungeons for the entire week. T-seop replied quickly. Yes, that's right. He put his hands on his hips and pondered. He means he'll reveal everything, not just one. That's a tough bargain. Park Chang-seok gave a wide, toothy grin. All right, I've got the gist of the situation. Let me try talking to the director directly. A moment later, he slammed his hand on the table in frustration. Damn it, those old-fashioned fogies are just a bunch of senile fools. Park Chang-seok stood right up on the table in anger. No wonder our country is always at the bottom of the rankings. Byung-jin asked in confusion. What's wrong with him? Jae-ah understood well enough and found the scene normal. The proposal wasn't approved, but frankly, the request was a bit excessive. She crossed her arms and sighed as she watched him scream to vent his anger. If only every examiner was as passionate as he is. He stepped forward and asked, So what did the director say to you? Park Chang-seok, face red with rage, replied, He told me I have to provide evidence or have him demonstrate it first before they consider spending the money. Without supporting summons, how is he supposed to conquer the dungeons? Byung-jin said, If that information is true, wouldn't it be a huge explosion? Chang-seok roared, It's a literal open gold mine, yet those idiots at headquarters can't see its value. On this side, Jae-ah's voice suddenly calmed him down. She sounded genuinely disappointed. Selling such lucrative information to headquarters for only 1.3 billion, don't you think that price is too cheap? Park Chang-seok asked back hesitatingly. Only 1.3 billion. Jae-ah put a hand to her chin and called out slowly, Examiner. She smiled and made a proposal. How about I pay for this out of my own pocket? Park Chang-seok stared at her in shock. I just remembered. Jae-ah is from the Daeseong group family. Yu Jae-ah, the fourth granddaughter of Daeseong, South Korea's leading economic conglomerate. She was raised according to the standards of a chaebol lady. But Jae-ah was more interested in players than in managing the company. And the player who caught her eye most recently was none other than Baek Jinwoo, a rookie who possessed an unimaginable amount of information and was even bold enough to bargain with the government. That's it, why don't we form a separate management team just to serve him? We'll invest heavily so he can exploit all the information and then we'll split the profits. Our way will be completely different from the current talent management team. He asked again, Are you sure? That's a huge amount of money. Jae-ah didn't seem worried at all, her tone incredibly refreshing. Are you worried about my bank balance? Park Chang-seok laughed weakly and replied, Not at all. Jae-ah crossed her arms, fingers tapping lightly on her arm. You don't need to worry about the money, but before deciding. She smiled and continued her request. I need to meet Baek Jinwoo one more time. Jae-ah sat with her arms on the table, legs crossed as if waiting for someone. She heard a noise and turned her face slightly. The shop staff bowed respectfully. Please make yourself at home. Jinwoo walked in and turned to look back at him. He was a bit nervous, rubbing his neck and thinking, main headquarters is showing real sincerity, aren't they? I'm responding to what you requested last time. Shall we meet in person to discuss the details? I'll send you the address and time. Who knew they would act so fast just for a piece of information? 1.3 billion isn't easy money. Right now I'm sitting in a high-end restaurant that makes 5-star hotels look second-rate. Being treated so well I don't even know how to handle it. It was truly worth selling the information. A voice rang out, interrupting Jinwoo's train of thought. You're here. Jinwoo glanced toward the voice and saw her standing up. Yu Jae-ah, I almost fainted when I checked her background. Looks, family, ability, the Korean player talent of the century recruited with incredibly high scores. I didn't expect the third-generation granddaughter of a chaebol group to work for the main headquarters. Jae-ah stepped forward, hand over her chest, and greeted him politely. Thank you for coming. He saw she was alone and asked, You came alone? Jae-ah smiled radiantly and replied, That's right, what I want to talk to you about today isn't related to headquarters, it's a private matter. The two sat down at the table and began to talk. So it's a pity, but she put a hand to her cheek and said to Jinwoo, I'm afraid the main headquarters will find it hard to provide further support. Examiner Park Chang-seok did his best, but there were too many objectors. Who are you trying to fool? He said while picking up food. If headquarters is like that, there's nothing we can do. Either way, I'll take the #1 spot myself. I won't provide them with information anymore. Suddenly Jae-ah said something that made Jinwoo pause. Instead, I have a proposal. He stopped moving and looked up at her. Excuse me. Jae-ah set her water glass down in front of Jinwoo. Just for you, Jinwoo. I'm planning to start a private management company. He was a bit surprised by her words. A one-man management company. This offer wasn't bad. Unlike headquarters, which must act cautiously, a private organization only chases profit, and I can certainly provide that profit. But more importantly, what I need right now is to connect with someone who values my information most and has the resources I can utilize. Jae-ah spoke again, interrupting his thoughts. I, along with Di Seong's professionalism, am ready to support everything Baek Jinwoo needs. Jinwoo was excited and thought to himself, where else could I find a place better than Di Seong? After all, money never lies. He happily drank from his glass before speaking. We've only met a few times, but you seem like a wonderful person. Jae-ah also laughed heartily, praising Jinwoo. With talent like yours, that's only natural. I'll explain the details along with the contract. If you agree, I'll visit that empty lot tomorrow. By the way, you should check the summoning request you asked for. He was a bit surprised that everything seemed a little rushed. So soon? I haven't even signed the contract yet. She suddenly lowered her head, her voice dropping slightly. Well, I prepared everything in advance. Regardless of your decision, consider it a gift. Jinwoo's eyes sparkled as he looked at Jae-ah. This is crazy, the chaebol lifestyle is something else. The scene shifts to the side of a mountain. Ajin walked along, complaining. Oppa, did he come here again today? She looked completely dejected. Why hasn't he been in touch lately? I heard he even has his own place now. Someone suddenly passed her, making her look up. She looked at Jae-ah and couldn't help but praise her in her heart. She's so beautiful, isn't she? Wait a minute, her face looks like someone I've seen on Insta. Ajin put a hand to her chin, searching through her memories. She immediately remembered the post she had seen. Ajin was so excited her mouth hung open. Isn't that girl you, Jae-ah? Under the blinding sun, the sound of heavy breathing rang out. Hunjio, full of spirit, shouted, more, you have to push yourself to the limit to grow. Ramba, drenched in sweat and looking exhausted, replied, I've already hit my limit. He seemed to notice something as his eyes scanned the surrounding. Hunjio took off his glasses and whispered to both, Everyone be quiet, someone is coming, no talking. Ramba quickly laid face down on Jinwoo's head. After a short rest, he turned around to see Jae-ah approaching. You're here. She kept using her hand to fan herself. Yes, hello, it looks like you've been training since this morning, haven't you? Ramba quickly regained her energy and flew up. That's right, just a light workout. Are these your summoned creatures? So you built your lineup like this. There are some summons I've never seen. Jinwoo waved his hand for them to leave. Yes, that's my main force. Go back to training, I'll introduce you formally later. Jae-ah reached out to take something. Alright, first I'll give you a gift. A system board suddenly appeared before him with large letters. Player Yu Jae-ah is proposing a trade. Please review the opponent's offer carefully. Just like in the game Battle of Summoners, it supported trading between players, quick sales of summons, and discounts for bulk purchases. If you dare to scam and run, you could die from a curse from the system window. An offer appeared that made Jinwoo ponder. Yu Jae-ah's trade list. Did she really take all of them? Do you accept the trade with player Yu Jae-ah? His body was suddenly enveloped in a faint blue light. Trade complete. Jinwoo was extremely grateful and bowed repeatedly. Thank you very much, that's an incredibly valuable gift. Jae-ah laughed, crossing her arms. It's nothing. She reached into her bag, rummaging for something inside. Then she held up the paper in front of him and asked, Shall we start working? She quickly explained to him, The management company's name is Baek. I took it from our surnames. 70% of the shares belong to Baek Jinwoo, 25% to me, and 5% will go to Examiner Park Chang-seok. The examiner will remain at headquarters and continue to support us. We also plan to hire Byung-jin and T-seop as staff, but aren't those two at headquarters? She explained they submitted their resignations this morning because I offered 3 times their old salary. Jinwoo held the paper in his hand, hesitating slightly. I'm really grateful, but 70% for me, are you sure about that? Jae-ah spoke to him calmly. Consider it my way of placing a bet. Even if I only have 25%, I believe I can still maximize the value of that figure. Her gaze immediately turned sharp. Besides, since this is a one-man company, voting rights don't matter. What matters is the relationship between me and Baek Jinwoo. She glanced at him as he was applying his fingerprint and thought, now is the time to set aside greed and solidify our relationship. Jinwoo pulled out an ink pad and pressed his finger into it to get ink for the document. Seeing this, Jae-ah was overjoyed. Completing the contract, the two happily shook hands. Then I look forward to working with CEO Jinwoo. Me too. On Hunjio's side, he accidentally saw something. Having seen it, he just kept staring at one spot. Then with a flash, Hunjio jumped inside, making Jae-ah confused. What is it? A loud scream echoed out from inside the grass. He dragged 2 feet along behind him. Hunjio turned Ajin upside down and shook her repeatedly. Jinwoo saw her there and greeted her. Ajin, what are you doing here? Jinwoo frowned slightly and questioned her. What do you mean? Ajin, looking disheveled, didn't answer and looked away, avoiding eye contact. He guessed it immediately. Are you following you, Jae-ah, because you're a fan? She heard that and immediately retorted, following, I was just curious so I came along. Jae-ah disappeared. Jinwoo's reproaching voice hit Ajin's heart hard, then it's clearly stalking. He sighed, leaning down to ask further. And when you got here, you were standing there secretly watching us. She wasn't resigned and shouted back angrily, fine, I was wrong. Ajin rushed forward angrily and questioned him, but what about you, how do you know her? She stared wide-eyed, repeatedly asking, you used some trick, didn't you? Why were you two together? Jinwoo rolled his eyes, thinking to himself in exasperation, what a headache. He had a moment of reflection. The contract had a clause about family, so they would have met sooner or later anyway. Back then, Jae-ah had promised, I plan to greet your family anyway, so this is convenient. Ajin heard that and muttered blankly, you Jae-ah wants to meet me? Seeing that, Jinwoo silently added, but not right now. A second later, she suddenly lay down and threw a tantrum. Tell me everything right now. She was being so clingy that he couldn't stand it anymore and sighed. Jinwoo pondered for a moment before starting. The thing is, after hearing the explanation, Ajin drew a conclusion. In summary, you used to be a somewhat famous gamer, and you're the one who just broke the record in the low-level dungeon. She drew the conclusion skeptically, and that's how you met Jae-ah while going back and forth to headquarters. Ah, he nodded lethargically in agreement, that's right. Ajin fell into deep thought after hearing that. The next question immediately startled Jinwoo. I remember you used to play some mobile game for a long time, is that the one? He hurriedly denied it. No, it's not that, that was a different game. I only played Battle of Summoners for about a year. Inwardly, he couldn't help but tell himself, I still can't reveal that I'm Jinwoo God. She exclaimed with great interest, even if it was only a year, that's a very long time for a garbage game like that. Every word was like a needle to Jinwoo's heart. Yet, facing Ajin's teasing, he could only laugh helplessly. Who would have thought my gaming addiction would be useful like this? Looking at the innocent face before him, a thought rose in Jinwoo's heart. It's not that I don't trust you. The thought silently formed in his mind, but anything could happen, there are risks. The sad scene of that year suddenly returned, making Jinwoo strengthen his resolve. The relatives who have taken care of me for the past 3 years, I can't let them fall into danger. His gaze gradually became firm. I need to get stronger to protect my family, then I'll consider going public with my identity. At that moment, she suddenly muttered, but why are you only telling me this now? Jinwoo scratched his head and replied nonchalantly, I was planning to tell you anyway. Besides, there's nothing to hide. I'll explain it to Mom and Dad later, so remember to keep this to yourself for a while. Ajin questioned him with a bit of resentment. What? You have your own reasons, I get it. Hunjio glared coldly at the dark elf. Meanwhile, Pakryong was currently sitting on top of Ramba. While he was pouncing on it, Jinwoo suddenly spoke up, oh, one more thing about that dark elf. She was startled upon hearing that, wondering why she had such an expression. His voice suddenly dropped, if you plan on raising it, you should find a dark wolf to use with it. Without one, you won't even be able to bring out 10% of its power. Ajin tapped on her device while repeating in confusion, dark wolf, there's a summon like that too. Jinwoo clicked his tongue and added, it's natural you wouldn't know since it's a B rank. After hearing that, she asked herself somewhat helplessly, How am I supposed to get a B rank now? With that, Ajin bowed her head and began tapping on her device to search. After a while, she suddenly cried out dejectedly, "Big brother." As soon as he heard her voice, he asked back suspiciously, "What is it?" Ajin interrogated him with a frozen face. "You want me to buy this? 500 million. I'd probably have to starve and save for 20 years to afford it." Looking at the price list for the gray wolf, Jinwoo chuckled and reassured her, speaking without hesitation, "Just stay calm, I'll get it for you within a month." But the only response was her doubtful laughter. "It's a full 500 million. Ajin gave a faint smile, half believing and half doubting as she teased, "Since becoming a gamer, have you started learning how to show off? Forget it, I'll save up the money and buy it myself later." Under the clear sunlight, a gentle smile played on Jinwoo's lips. Then he gave a kind reminder, "Don't go crying from emotion when you actually receive the gift." Having said his piece, Jinwoo turned to leave. "Training is over, let's head back." He left her behind, watching him suspiciously, feeling that something was definitely off. Ajin, clutching the exhausted and terrified dark elf, frowned and thought to herself, "I feel like my brother has turned into a completely different person." The sky was deep blue and the sun shone brilliantly. A week later, the two of them, Jaya and him, were standing there watching people unload cargo. Jinwoo spoke up with a hint of doubt. "What is this?" She introduced it with a bright smile. "This is the gear you'll have to wear every time you go into the daily dungeons." Jaya smiled happily and continued to explain, "The first product of our Ubik company is information." While putting on the gear, he asked back, "Information?" She couldn't help but boast, "We are going to sell dungeon-clearing video clips at exorbitant prices." With that, Jaya looked at the gear and said, "And this state-of-the-art equipment is indispensable for doing that." A small camera was also attached to the breast pocket. When worn, all the surrounding scenery would be recorded in 3D. She added with a light laugh, "It's very light and has good elasticity, so you won't feel uncomfortable." In the next second, Tisiop put on his glasses, slid his fingers into the gloves and performed the actions with a chilling calm. In an instant, a complete team appeared with filming preparations finalized. Jinwoo's eyes widened upon seeing it, and he thought to himself, "This stuff makes me feel more pressured than actually fighting monsters." He nodded slightly and asked in confusion, "Since this is my first time entering the second dungeon, I'm not sure if things will go well. Will it be okay?" Jaya reassured him with a gentle smile, "It's fine, we'll only take the best highlights to edit." Receiving that answer, he stopped and replied softly, "Thank you." Before stepping through the gate, Jinwoo suddenly turned back and said, "By the way, is it okay if I break the national record as soon as I enter?" Hearing the question, she blurted out in shock, "Well, yeah." In her heart, she couldn't help but wonder, didn't he just say he was afraid things wouldn't go smoothly? Surely he's joking, right? Or maybe that 1.3 billion is too much pressure. Nevertheless, Jaya hurriedly comforted him, "Just relax, I don't mind, just play comfortably like you did when you were a gamer." He smiled slightly and quickly agreed, "Yes, I understand." Having said that, Jinwoo decisively stepped into the warp gate. Thoughts kept appearing in his head. The national record for the second dungeon is 7 minutes with this situation. Beyond the door, a dark space awaited. Jinwoo flashed a confident smile and secretly weighed things in his mind. "I might just break it like it's child's play." This was the second dungeon, the only place where runes that increase attack power drop. The completion time would directly determine the player's rank, just like in most other games. Attack runes have always been the most important thing in BOS. Because without them, you are almost useless. It truly lives up to its reputation as a trash game. This was a defense-type dungeon. Normally, you have to hold out against an undead army for 30 minutes. However, the clear time still carried extreme importance. Calling it a defense mission was just for show. In reality, everything ends as soon as the boss, the Lick, is defeated. Therefore, charging straight ahead to take down the boss has become the most popular strategy. Jinwoo lightly touched the camera on his chest and remarked, "It seems the gear is working quite well." As soon as he finished speaking, a virtual screen appeared in front of him. The screen displayed the information. "You have set up a total of 3 teams. Which team do you want to summon?" Team A/Team B/Team C. Each player could create up to 3 different lineups. Jinwoo made his choice without hesitation. "I've already divided the teams for regular maps, PvP, and daily dungeons." A second later, a series of system screens appeared along with summoning notifications, summoning S-rank military instructor, summoning C-rank battle sheriff, summoning D-rank mini Kong. 2 more people appeared on his right flank, summoning C-rank Light Priest, summoning D-rank Gold Fairy. After the entire team appeared, the system screen popped up again. Lick's undead army is swarming in. Hold out until reinforcements arrive. A pale blue notification box appeared displaying clear text, remaining time 30 minutes. The time officially entered the countdown phase, 29 minutes 59 seconds. On the other side, the Lick was waving its hand, ordering the undead army to charge. Facing the intense attack, Mini Kong beat its chest and roared. It snatched up a skull, the strength in its hands enough to crush it in an instant. Mini Kong exerted its full strength and slammed it hard into the ground. Looking at the bones lying on the ground, he spoke excitedly, "Here we go." Jinwoo waved his hand confidently and ordered, "Let's move out." Everyone acted in unison. On everyone in the air, the Lick was observing everything with a gloomy appearance. In the distance, the undead army was charging frantically. "First, let's take this high ground." While Jinwoo was speaking, Hunjio's eyes noticed the hidden camera. He didn't say a word but just nodded slightly in agreement with him. Seeing that, Jinwoo just clicked his tongue and secretly assessed, "This Hunjio is truly sharp." He shut up immediately when he saw us recording. At this moment, the system screen was displaying remaining time, 27 minutes 59 seconds. He glanced at it while silently calculating. It took exactly 2 minutes to get here. Jinwoo's gaze suddenly froze when he saw the Jedians being closed in on from all sides by monsters, while more were chasing from behind. Hunjio charged forward without hesitation, swinging his sword to eliminate the monsters. On the other side, Mini Kong was also exerting its strength to rip heads off. It roared violently, swung its arm back, and prepared to unleash a throwing move. Mini Kong slammed the skull hard toward the approaching monsters. Looking at that scene, he couldn't help but shiver. Mini Kong and Hunjio seem fine. I'm lucky they're my summoned beasts. Jinwoo quickly brushed aside his thoughts and observed the Lick in the distance. Next, he stopped and gave a light smile while ordering, "Sheriff, get ready." In his heart, he couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. This sheriff summon shoots from a distance and is extremely accurate. But because its damage was so low, no one bothered to use it before. But thinking of the next scene, Jinwoo calculated happily. However, it is the boss of the low-level second dungeon because the Lick there doesn't have much HP. A second later, he suddenly raised his hand to stop, making the sheriff look suspicious. "Wait, don't fire yet." Jinwoo turned back and ordered, "Radiance, bestow your blessing." A surge of power suddenly enveloped the gun in its hand. He nodded slightly, thinking to himself, the effect of this blessing is very simple. On the opposite side, an information screen was above the Lick's head. Shadow protection layer. Jinwoo calculated confidently, it will negate the Lick's immunity to ranged attacks. Seeing that everything was under control, he slightly curled the corners of his mouth and spoke, "Good, now follow my command." The sheriff immediately raised its gun and began to open fire. At the same time, Hunjio was frantically slaughtering the undead army. Just as he saw a monster about to launch a sneak attack, Mini Kong lunged forward. It slammed down with terrifying force, causing the monster to shatter. In just an instant, the monsters had completely surrounded them, with sharp spears ready to strike. Mini Kong froze, its movement stopping midway. At the same time, on the other side, Radiance and the Gold Fairy were still continuously praying. The two were constantly bestowing blessings, enhancing the sheriff's power. It did not disappoint, continuously firing rounds with an expressionless face. Hearing the sound of gunfire, Jinwoo's face turned slightly pale with helplessness. As expected. No matter how you looked at it, its damage still seemed pathetic compared to the others. However, looking at that serious appearance, Jinwoo couldn't help but tell himself, but anyway, the opponent's HP is steadily decreasing. The bullets kept flying, but the damage was almost negligible. After firing and firing, it finally started to get annoyed. Looking at the fuming Lick, he couldn't help but think to himself, normally, with such weak levels and runes, it would take forever to finish this. That's why everyone usually just skips it. Mini Kong was continuously recovering HP. Seeing that, he paused and told himself, but in an instant, a monster suddenly jumped up, startling the two of them. Taking advantage of that moment, the others quickly rushed in to ambush Mini Kong. The monster screeched, a bizarre laugh that seemed to tear through the air. Its gaze locked onto Jinwoo, who was wearing an unpredictable smile. While he was still lost in thought, a figure suddenly rushed in. That only applies to ordinary players. Without a warning sound, a blade from behind pierced through the monster's head. Jinwoo glanced at Hunjio, who was coldly closing in on him, and thought, As for me, I have Hunjio. He stood there letting him handle the monsters, his mind constantly calculating. I just need to use Hunjio's move to awaken its latent power, then equip a rune set with the right skills. Then even a high-level lick will be finished with just one bullet. In an instant, the lick suddenly froze, and then, to the shock of the undead army, it suddenly fell backward. In just an instant, the system's notification screen popped up. Dungeon cleared. Completion time, 4 minutes 12 seconds. You have just set a new record in South Korea. You have achieved a special accomplishment. He couldn't help but start boasting. This assassin using a spoon tactic is truly top tier. On the outside, Tseop exclaimed in disbelief. I didn't expect him to dare start his record-breaking journey at the second dungeon. Jaya spoke thoughtfully, wondering to herself, is it too early for this? She lowered her voice and muttered, I only gave him those summoned beasts a week ago. Well, even if he doesn't break the record, we still have to cheer for him. Hearing that, Byung-jin just bowed his head slightly and sighed, true enough. Then he suddenly blurted out a question, but will Baek Jinwoo really be able to break all the daily dungeon records? Seeing that confused face, Byung-jin quickly explained, that's not what I meant. Breaking the third day's record is incredible, that's indisputable, but he didn't even bother explaining how he would clear the other dungeons. He looked toward the revenue board and continued, South Korea isn't short of players with a year of experience. What if he's just bragging? Jaya interrupted coldly, are you worried? That icy voice immediately silenced Byung-jin. She didn't pay it any mind and continued with a slight smile. Anyway, I'm using my own money to invest in this. Her next words immediately made the two of them wide-eyed with shock. Even if what you fear happens, I guarantee the careers of those who trusted me won't be affected. Of course, your salaries will remain the same. In their eyes, Jaya now looked like a winged angel. The two of them were moved and hugged each other tightly, crying, this truly is a dream job. I will definitely give my all for this place. She shook her head and laughed helplessly, thinking, because I can afford to do that. For a brief moment, Jaya's gaze became razor-sharp. Thinking of him, she couldn't help but secretly remark, besides Baek Jinwoo, he's definitely still hiding many tricks. The more Jaya thought about it, the more certain she felt about that leisurely look of his. A suspicious thought suddenly occurred to her. It's as if these dungeons are absolutely nothing to him. Just then, a cry of shock suddenly rang out. The record was just broken. Followed by panicked shouts, which record? The rookie's second dungeon took only 4 minutes and 12 seconds. In front of the screen, everyone couldn't help but wonder, he cut the old record by a full 3 minutes. Which monster did this? Looking at that familiar face, the other person exclaimed in shock, it's Baek Jinwoo, who else? Tseop couldn't help but blurt out, this is crazy. Byung-jin's eyes bugged out in unimaginable surprise. The two of them began to chatter excitedly, I can't believe this is happening. He's truly amazing. Meanwhile, Jaya stood in the back, pensively wondering. He broke the record on his very first try. A surge of excitement made her hands tremble. In her heart, she had the answer, so the plan was actually successful. She clenched her fist, her determination burning. Regarding this business venture, she couldn't help but flash a triumphant smile. At the very least, it will be a glorious victory. In Jaya's eyes, the flame of determination flared up violently. And if everything goes smoothly, we'll definitely hit the jackpot. The battle closed, the sun quietly rose at the end of the horizon. The teleportation portal has also appeared. Jinwoo stood there with his hands on his hips, his eyes full of confidence. He turned off the camera, telling himself, I still have things to handle before logging out. Looking at the virtual screen before him, Jinwoo smiled and calculated. From this moment on, it will be a journey of non-stop grinding. At that moment, an option appeared on the screen. Do you want to enable auto battle for this lineup? In BOS, all you have to do is clear a daily dungeon once to enable auto farming. This meant that as long as his summons kept repeating the task, the rewards would automatically fill his pockets. Thinking this, he didn't hesitate to select yes. A second later, Hunjio vanished before his eyes, replaced by Ramba, the X-rank wind spirit summon. Jinwoo smiled slightly and ordered, Ramba, I'm leaving the second dungeon farming to you, she asked suspiciously. Wait, wasn't that Hunjio's job? He smiled radiantly and asked back, making Ramba freeze. Hunjio has to train the others. What's wrong? Do you want to join the training session too? Old memories suddenly flooded back into her mind like a slow-motion movie. She collapsed to the ground, groaning in despair. I'd rather go grind. Please, master, let me go grind. Seeing her state, Jinwoo stammered, "All right then." After assigning the tasks, he calculated his next move. Good, now just let them clear the remaining dungeons. Then he would collect the loot from the AFK farming. Jinwoo pondered while navigating the menus. While the remaining summons focus on training, it's a perfectly optimized workflow. Before stepping through the teleportation portal, he didn't forget to remind her. "I'm counting on you, Ramba." Ramba, lying on Mini Kong's head, promised excitedly, "Roger, just leave it to me." On the other side, the destination teleportation portal opened up. Within the glow of the portal, Jinwoo slowly stepped out. He paused immediately, feeling suspicious. He was greeted by the sight of Tseop respectfully rolling out a carpet. "Welcome back," accompanied by the adoring faces of Jae-ah and Byung-jin. "I always believed in you." Jinwoo handed over the equipment, feeling a bit flustered. Yeah, all the recorded footage is in here." He asked hesitantly, "Is there anything else you need help with?" She smiled gently and nodded quickly, "Most definitely." Jae-ah professionally offered an assurance. "We will keep this strictly confidential, so don't worry about any news leaking out." But Jinwoo replied with an indifferent attitude, "I don't really care if the new record gets out." This caused her to ask back in disbelief, "Wait, what did you say?" He coldly issued a request, "Instead, just make sure you protect my family well." Inwardly, he couldn't help but worry. Gangs are still rampant throughout Korea, but since Yu Jae-ah is managing my rights, they'll likely tighten security. Jae-ah remained silent, looking down as if calculating something. Finally, she nodded in agreement. "Very well, I will protect them, even if I have to use the full influence of Seong." Meanwhile, in a dark room somewhere, Komodo opened its mouth wide, ready to swallow its prey. While it was eating heartily, a notification appeared above Jinwoo's head. "Dungeon complete. Time 3 minutes 10 seconds. He smirked triumphantly. "Since I was recording, I used Komodo to clear it, but at this rate, I might actually set a world record, wouldn't I?" Looking at Komodo lying there satisfied, Jinwoo silently calculated. "If I just equip this Komodo with movement speed runes and maximize the speed buffs from the Wind Hawk, breaking the record will be simple. If I use Hunjio to awaken its potential, it might only take a minute." Thinking this, he immediately pressed the button to stop recording. After finishing his business, Jinwoo immediately turned and stepped into the portal. That settles the recording for day 3. The fourth dungeon is the place to farm defensive runes. It had a very specific characteristic, which was, he hugged himself, shivering, and screamed inwardly, "It's so cold here it makes you shake, which tanks my movement speed." Jinwoo complained while navigating his choices, "It's freezing to death." As 2 creatures appeared, the system screen popped up, summoning C-rank Ice Cat, summoning B-rank Wind Hawk. A second later, a series of other notifications appeared, summoning B-rank Titan Golem, summoning C-rank Horned Fairy, summoning X-rank Dragon Mage. As soon as the Ice Cat appeared, it quickly dispelled the chill. He couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. In a place like this, you absolutely need a summon with cold resistance skills, and among them, the Ice Cat is the #1 choice. Jinwoo looked into the distance. "Let's see." On the other side, a horde of monsters was rushing toward them frantically. He spoke up calmly, without a hint of fear, "Titan Golem." Receiving the order, the Titan Golem excitedly swung its arms, amplifying the golem's protective armor. Without stopping, Jinwoo immediately turned to call the Windhawk, thinking to himself, "I'll use the Windhawk's speed boost so we can glide through this quickly." The Windhawk flew over gently and landed on its shoulder. The Titan Golem then held out its hand for the 3 of them to step onto. Once the group was securely seated, it accelerated and dashed off. The strong wind whipped against his face, making him turn pale. Jinwoo hurriedly covered his mouth in agony. "It's really effective, but I'm so dizzy." The one who perseveres to the end wins. Meanwhile, the monsters launched the first strike, a flurry of ice orbs. The Titan Golem nimbly dodged and weaved. He smirked and thought with satisfaction, "The Titan Golem really makes an excellent sandbag for tanking hits." Even so, another thought cropped up, but that's not all there is to it. It watched for a brief moment and then leaped upward. Watching the Titan Golem easily scale a high cliff, he couldn't help but marvel. "By taking shortcuts that only a golem can take, I've saved a massive amount of time." Then Jinwoo suddenly turned and signaled Pakryong, "Get ready to fight." Pakryong didn't reply but simply looked up. As the golem's hand gripping the cliff tightened, the Titan Golem launched itself powerfully into the air. Following that, a bright red warning screen appeared. "Boss, Warning, warning, the boss has appeared. The monster roared ferociously the moment it saw them. Seeing the tense situation, he hurriedly called the Horned Fairy. The Horned Fairy quickly flew above it and cast a spell. Jinwoo ordered while observing, "Pakryong, strike now." Instantly a blazing fire was summoned, and a fire dragon lunged at the boss in a split second. As the roar died down, the monster was already engulfed in a sea of flames. The system screen quickly popped up, "Boss defeated. Dungeon cleared successfully. Time 4 minutes 22 seconds. He couldn't contain his joy and shouted, "Excellent." After the battle, the group stood still for a moment to rest. Jinwoo hummed happily, another new record established. He stopped abruptly, his face turning green as the group looked on in horror. Jinwoo collapsed, crying out, "I'm motion sick, not again." Cursed golem. Not long after, news of the protagonist creating new records spread through all the newspapers. From that moment on, everyone looked skeptical as they read the articles. Beak Jinwoo. A girl asked herself suspiciously, "Isn't this the person who cleared the 3rd dungeon earlier?" Now the newspapers only asked one single question: who is Beak Jinwoo? In a cafe, the gossip continued, "Who is this Beak Jinwoo anyway? Don't you really remember? He's the guy on the forums who claimed he would break Kang Jin-ho's record." "Ah, I remember now." Elsewhere, similar questions were being asked. "So he just set another record?" "Yeah, he even surpassed Kang Jin-ho." Scanning the screen, he blurted out a skeptical remark, "He doesn't look like a high-ranked pro at all." Newspaper headlines were published one after another. Daily dungeon record shattered by Beak Jinwoo, a rising star player. The record wall of the 3rd dungeon officially crumbles before the name Beak Jinwoo. "It's Beak Jinwoo again, smashing the clear time for the 4th dungeon." Conversations followed. "It's unbelievable. This is unprecedented." All eyes were now on the name Beak Jinwoo. The director muttered with a slight headache, "If it really is Beak Jinwoo." The secretary beside him quickly interjected, "Then he's the one examiner Park Chang-seok mentioned earlier." He continued the introduction, "The guy who said he'd provide intel if we gave him summons." He raised an eyebrow and asked, "The one examiner I am Hisu vehemently opposed?" The secretary immediately confirmed, "Yes, that's him. At the time, we refused to pay without getting the intel first." The director leaned back exhaustedly, "But it seems everything he said was true," he asserted firmly, "Most definitely." He didn't reply but simply sighed in deep thought. Recalling the scene back then, the director regretted, "Thinking back, I am Hisu's argument seemed logical at the time." Even so, he tried to console himself. However, in politics, results are everything. But the more he thought about it, the more the director regretted. "If I had supported Beak Jinwoo then, I wouldn't just be praised by the public now, I'd be hauling in a mountain of votes." He shook his head in deep sorrow, inwardly blaming, "Old man, I am Hisu is senile, his judgment is terrible. I can't believe he personally threw away the luck right in front of us." Nevertheless, the director spoke up. "First of all, where is the secretary?" he replied while handling work. "Right here, director." He quickly made a decision, "Find a way to contact Beak Jinwoo again." The secretary asked in confusion, "Wait, are we going to contact him directly?" The director's eyes showed clear determination. "Exactly. I thought it was a scam at first, but it turned out to be the real deal. We must pull him to our side at all costs." The 2nd and 4th dungeons are for farming runes, while running the 3rd dungeon yields enhancement potions. He took a firm stride through the teleportation portal. A desolate desert landscape unfolded before his eyes. The 5th dungeon gives skill books. These books won't teach the summon special moves, nor do they have those hidden skills that only a trainer can unlock. But it still drops some pretty decent moves, so it's worth the grind. This way I can skip it and won't have to go to the Sunday dungeon. Both the Sunday and the 5th dungeon drop skill books, but you get more from the 5th one. Since I don't need to constantly grind these places, I decided to give the whole team a rest on Sundays. So what exactly is this easy 5th dungeon? Amidst the ruins of stone and earth, the system issued a signal. "Warning, warning, warning." A bright red screen flashed. The boss monster is appearing. Looking at the monster before him, he couldn't help but think, "It's the place where you have to jump in and fight the boss to the death immediately." Jinwoo groaned in boredom. This boss's defense stat is ridiculously high. The standard strategy is using a B-rank White Wolf to trigger a defense debuff. However, if you're strong enough to crush it with raw damage, that works too. He didn't follow the conventional path and quickly summoned everyone. A giant hand struck the ground, followed by a heavy stomp. Looking at the majestic Titan golem, Jinwoo's confidence immediately surged. He reached up and turned off the camera. This video probably won't be sellable. Jinwoo couldn't help but sigh. If I just put out a lineup of monsters punching things left and right, what are people going to learn from it? Thinking of this, Jinwoo told himself helplessly, I should probably just tell them to use the white wolf to chip away its defense, then follow up with a massive damage combo, the traditional way. Finally, he concluded, in any case, it's not like there aren't tricks to breaking the record. Thinking this, Jinwoo said as he climbed onto its hand, Titan Golem. An earth golem's weakness is its head, aim straight for that. Following Jinwoo's thoughts, the two golems clashed. This is exactly why I had to summon the Titan Golem. While the Windhawk and Ramba were full of spirit, he waved his hand and gave the order, Pakryong Hunjio. Jinwoo directed them personally, focus on finishing it by hitting the head. In an instant, the two golems engaged in combat, but a second later, its arm was suddenly sliced off. Before anyone noticed, Hunjio had landed on the earth golem's arm. He calmly sheathed his sword while it stared in shock. Before the earth golem could react, it was sliced into pieces. In the air, Pakryong also raised her staff to summon holy fire. She coldly prepared to deliver the finishing blow. The flames transformed into a dragon and dived down, the blazing fire instantly swallowing the earth golem. In the end, only its scorched body remained. As the battle ended, Pakryong landed on the Titan Golem's shoulder. A string of notifications followed, boss monster defeated, dungeon cleared successfully, clear time 5 minutes 10 seconds. Jinwoo excitedly clenched his fist and shouted, I shortened the national record by a full minute. He then looked at Hunjio below and marveled. Hunjio is so strong he literally breaks the game's balance. Nevertheless, Jinwoo had to cross him out. Even so, I don't plan on letting him and the main lineup run this 5th dungeon. He pondered while observing his surroundings. Only Pakryong needs to be properly trained. Looking at Pakryong staring back at him with sparkling eyes, Jinwoo thought proudly, that's enough to clear the highest level dungeon in a heartbeat. The more he thought, the more confident he felt. In the future, it'll probably only take about 10 seconds, including the time entering and exiting the portal. Jinwoo happily patted her head, offering praise. Well done, little ones. Hunjio nodded slightly at his voice, while Ramba waved her hand in joy. Amidst the rocky ruins, his relieved voice rang out, all right, let's do one more round. A short while later, Jinwoo stepped through the teleportation portal once more. At that moment, someone suddenly approached and inquired, pardon me, are you player Beak Jinwoo? Looking at the two strangers, he replied cautiously, that would be me. One of them respectfully presented a business card and introduced themselves. We are from the Secretariat under the Director's office. Jinwoo spoke up the moment he saw the card. I see. He didn't want to get involved further, so he asked, is there something you need from me? While inwardly wondering, I thought the discussions with headquarters ended a long time ago. The secretary quickly explained, we've carefully reviewed the proposal you submitted last time, Mr. Beak Jinwoo. His monotonous voice continued, given the impressive results you've achieved, we are now interested in pursuing a partnership. Jinwoo cut him off immediately, oh that. He gave a slight wave of his hand and declined with a smile, never mind about that. Both of them stared at him in utter shock, excuse me. Seeing their reaction, Jinwoo let out a mocking laugh. What's there to review or provide results for now? In his mind, an image of Jaya with angel wings appeared. I'll pay you 1.3 billion upfront, just trust me. Behind her was the director saying, let me look into it, just trust the main headquarters. The more Jinwoo thought about it, the angrier he got. What kind of person did they take him for? Did they think he was someone easily led by the nose? They talked a big game, but in reality they were the exact opposite of Yu Jia. Having made up his mind, he spoke up, startling the secretary furthermore. Jinwoo explained with a calm expression, I already have a management company. If you want to discuss business, contact Yu Jia of Ubik directly. With that, he left decisively, that's all, goodbye. He left the secretary behind, staring in stunned silence. What? He asked suspiciously, what the hell is Yubi? The secretary voiced his confusion. He just mentioned, don't tell me it's someone from the DCong group. He frowned slightly and ordered, investigate this immediately. In his heart, he couldn't help but feel uneasy. I have a feeling we just lost a golden opportunity. On the message screen with Beak Jinwoo, the bureau chief hurriedly asked, are you awake? You're probably fast asleep. I suddenly find myself missing you. If only we had met sooner. I think I've fallen for you, Beak Jinwoo. Jinwoo simply sent back a like followed by a notification, Beak Jinwoo has left the chat group. The next day in the city center, Jinwoo stood comfortably sunbathing on a rooftop. He suddenly turned around and muttered, "This should be about right. This 6th dungeon is completely different from any of the places I've been before. While other dungeons are meant for summons to do the fighting, here, the player himself must personally overcome the trials for it to be counted as a clear." Jinwoo didn't hesitate and made a decision. I need to start training right away. With that, he quickly tapped to select a summon. In an instant, the surrounding space transformed and a system screen appeared, summoning B-rank Flying Dragon Sky. Jinwoo walked slowly to the railing and looked down. Seeing the height, he couldn't help but think, thanks to the protective shield, I don't have to worry about falling to my death, but it still makes me feel a bit shaky. Then Jinwoo spoke up, "Sky," and Sky quickly lowered its body. As he climbed on, he asked, "Let's go, are you ready?" At Jinwoo's command, it quickly took flight, heading straight for the East Sea. The sudden loss of gravity made him close his eyes in panic. But very quickly, Jinwoo opened his eyes, and looking down at the miniature city below, he let out a small cry of surprise. Jinwoo thought excitedly, "This is much more interesting than I expected." Thinking of that, he ordered happily, "Great, let's go." A short while later, at the coastal waters of Yangyang, as soon as he saw him, Hunjio exclaimed, "My master." He suddenly shouted with pride, "Your flight maneuvers were incredible, you truly did not disappoint me." Jinwoo felt a bit flustered, thinking, too much praise is putting pressure on me, but he quickly denied it aloud, it wasn't that outstanding. However, Hunjio loudly disagreed, "No, I'm being serious." At this point, Pakryong spoke softly, "But it's the truth." She reminisced admiringly, "At first, we struggled quite a bit just to ride a flying dragon." Images of the two main summons looking miserable suddenly appeared, reflecting their past hardships. He thought back in silence. During the Battle of Summoners, Hunjio and Pakryong had also ridden dragons and dolphins. Pakryong didn't hesitate to pile on the praise, "Truly the great Jinwoo god, you are completely worthy of being our master. You're amazing." Seeing her like that, Jinwoo's heart felt like it was melting. How cute. All right, thanks everyone." He quickly turned his face away, "Let's move on." Observing the vast sea before him, Jinwoo asked softly, "Next up is learning to ride the sky dolphin, right?" She replied quickly, "That's right." He showed a humble side, "Learning from experienced ones like you is the fastest way to improve. I'm counting on you guys." Pakryong responded excitedly, "I'll do my best." Hunjio also clenched his fist and replied, "By your command, master." A few days later at the 6th dungeon. By this time, Jinwoo had warped to the 6th dungeon. A confident smile played on his lips. This is the place that specifically provides special types of runes. Jinwoo warmed up while calling out, "Sky Gale Hawk." On the virtual screen, text appeared, "The running trial will begin in 10 seconds. Reach the finish line as fast as possible." This is the place that helped me earn the title God of Speed. As soon as the Skygale Hawk appeared, it heard his command, "Buff me with an acceleration charm." Jinwoo lowered his center of gravity, preparing to run. At the same time, the countdown began, 3, 2, 1. As soon as the count hit 1, Jinwoo's eyes flashed. The command was issued, "Go." He quickly dashed forward. Gun muzzles appeared in the air, pointing downward. He dashed forward while nimbly dodging the hail of bullets. In a split second, a bullet grazed Jinwoo's arm. He nimbly leaped up, landing on the yellow tiles. Experiencing this personally is actually exhilarating. It's much more fun than just looking at a computer screen. A surge of excitement flashed in Jinwoo's eyes. Time to enter the first hidden path. Before him was a blinding light at the horizon of the vast sea. Jinwoo smirked slightly as he calculated, "Normally, you have to cross the water and just keep running straight." But as soon as he thought that, he suddenly leaped into the air. Jinwoo lunged straight down into the sea. He laughed brightly and summoned loudly, "Sky Dolphin, come forth." A dolphin vaulted out of the sea, summoning C-rank Sky Dolphin. As soon as Jinwoo hugged it, he quickly squeezed his eyes shut and held his breath. A second later, both of them vanished into the deep sea. Admiring the brilliant scenery under the sea, he couldn't help but think, if I use the dolphin to move underwater, I can avoid a bunch of obstacles up there. Jinwoo narrowed his eyes as the two prepared to surface. As soon as he vaulted out of the sea, he immediately shouted, "Sky." Seeing the familiar silhouette, Jinwoo quickly climbed down. He exerted force to leap off the dolphin's body. Jinwoo easily landed on Sky's back. From this point on, it's time for the aerial performance. The two nimbly dodged every attack. He just needed to zip through the remaining traps. In an instant, the finish line appeared. He opened his eyes wide with excitement and shouted the end, "Finish." Prompted by Jinwoo's joyful shout, the system screen immediately popped up. You have reached the destination. The system joyfully congratulates you on completing the dungeon. Time 2 minutes 16 seconds. Followed by a celebratory firework display on screen. Congratulations on breaking the South Korean national record. You have achieved a special accomplishment. The forest burned brightly under a radiant sky as the scene shifted to the 7th dungeon after the 6th was cleared. A giant monster roared amidst a sea of fire while burning creatures scattered in chaos. A hawk swooped down like a bolt of lightning. The flames engulfed the forest and all monsters were eliminated. Dungeon cleared in just 3 minutes and 40 seconds. The scene shifted to towering cliffs under the light of sunset. The Sunday dungeon was also cleared extremely quickly. Jinwoo stood tall with his arm outstretched as his summons unleashed their power, a blinding beam of light firing straight at the enemy. A white-haired figure with glowing eyes was blown back, blood trailing down his face. Hunjio held a glowing blue sword with the others standing behind him. The absolute master was defeated. The dungeon is officially clear. Hunjio closed his eyes calmly, Ramba sitting on his head as she spoke softly. That was tough, she replied with a smile. It's the result of all that training. Jinwoo reached out to help Pakyong up, his voice warm. Everyone did a great job. He wiped the sweat from his forehead, let out a sigh of relief, and broke the South Korean national record after clearing every single low-tier dungeon. The total clear time was 14 minutes and 50 seconds. Jinwoo told himself, if I keep training like this, the clear times will only get shorter. Let's focus on building power first. Once I'm strong enough, I'll challenge the mid-tier. He looked up at the massive tower reaching into the clouds and thought pensively, I need to clear up to the highest tier dungeons and consistently gather runes and skills. Only then will I have the stats to challenge the Tower of Trials. He glanced to the side, smiling slightly as he saw the others standing nearby and said, I wonder if 2 years is enough. Hunjio caught Ramba in his hands. Jinwoo looked at the system panel and continued, by the way. An interface appeared filled with items. I'll keep the high-level summoning scrolls for now, but what should I do with all these clear rewards? The scene shifted to the Ubik office. Jaya sat behind her desk, phone in hand. The phone screen displayed breaking news. Jinwoo continuously breaking records in daily dungeons. The report asked loudly, just who is he? And declared the whole world was going crazy over Beak Jinwoo. Jaya leaned back in her chair, smiling calmly. Well, it's only natural, clearing every dungeon record in just 1 week. She turned her head toward Byungjin and called out. He was sitting at the next desk and replied, Yes, ma'am. Jaya asked, How is the video editing coming along? Byungjin scratched his head, looking a bit stressed. I just finished it. T-Seop looked up from behind his computer screen and asked, Is there a problem? Byungjin picked up a device and said, It's not a problem, it's just that even though I'm done, I still find it hard to believe what I'm seeing. Do you want to take a look? I've finished stitching together the 5th and Sunday dungeons as requested by Beak Jinwoo. All three stared intently at the screen with serious expression. And then someone reacted in shock. A close-up showed hands tightly gripping a dolphin underwater as a voice rang out, What the hell? A blinding light spread across the sea, the water rippling violently. A giant wyvern soared upward with Jinwoo sitting on its back. A terrified voice cried, That's impossible. Byungjin sat in a daze and remarked, His strategy and execution are on a completely different level, almost like a circus act. Jaya asked, Is this really feasible? Byungjin had a strange expression. Even a film crew couldn't stage a scene like this. He added, Even if we sell it, people will just get mad because no one else can replicate it. Jaya stared straight ahead, her gaze calm, her voice ringing out, That just means Beak Jinwoo is simply that extraordinary. She gripped the armrests of her chair and said, Before we sell the video, let's buy up every single summon that appears in it. Byungjin was surprised. Are you thinking of cornering the market first? Jaya turned her head slightly, smiling with confidence. Exactly. We need to maximize profit based on this information. Byungjin leaned over, typing on a tablet with a look of panic. With our current budget, we'll try to... Jaya cut him off. Don't worry about the budget, buy them all. She smiled confidently and ordered, If we're short, I'll take out a loan in my own name. Her fingers flew across the keyboard. Jaya sat behind the desk with a calm smile. In a stylized scene, a figure with a dollar sign stood before Jaya's desk, shouting, "You Jaya, get the branch manager in here." Two figures in suits knelt beside a pile of money, trembling. "We've processed up to the maximum limit. I could even give you my watch," the other said. "Just tell us what you need, ma'am." Jaya smiled and closed her eyes. "I've secured the loan and bought all the summons." She continued typing and declared, "Now it's time to sell the information." The screen was filled with dungeon strategy info along with prices and conditions. Byungjin leaned toward the screen. "Is it okay to sell it this cheaply?" Jaya replied calmly. "The strategy info is just bait to sell the summons. Besides, this is for the development of South Korea. It's fine if it's a bit cheap." Tseop turned his head and asked, "Then what price should we list the summons we collected at?" Jaya smiled confidently, 200 million for C rank, 1 billion for B rank. Tseop turned back with a shocked face. "That's 10 times the current market price. Isn't that too expensive?" Her voice rang out, "When the information spreads, everyone will need these summons. The price will naturally rise." More summons appeared. "Since we hold most of the supply, they'll have no choice but to buy from us." The cursor clicked the post button. A voice said, "Now it's time to reap the rewards of trusting and investing in Baek Jinwoo." The two men leaned over to look at the screen in awe. "This isn't a dream, is it?" Below that, Jaya smiled. The revenue board displayed 377 billion. A blinding light exploded from the screen. The two shielded their eyes as a voice cried, "We haven't even started and it's already like this? This is insane." Jaya's hands trembled on the keyboard while the two men behind her cheered. "The summons we bought for Baek Jinwoo only cost 1.3 billion and now they've turned into this." Jaya sat with her eyes closed, taking a deep breath to calm herself, while the two men were practically pinned to the back wall. She sat before the screen and said, "The business feasibility has been proven." The two looked at her in shock. Jaya continued, "Now we begin large-scale investment." One of them hesitated. Jaya turned her head, smiling confidently. "First, shall we go buy a building?" She looked at the two kneeling on the floor and asked, "Why do you two look so pathetic?" They replied dejectedly, "Because of Baek Jinwoo." The scene shifted to Jinwoo sitting alone on a park bench. Phone in hand, the screen displayed Baek Jinwoo's account balance, over 54 million. He smiled radiantly, light glinting around him as Ramba clung to his shoulder in shock, earning 54 million just in 1 week from selling high-level scrolls. Ramba asked, "How many cakes is that?" Jinwoo leaned back, a happy smile on his face. "Dungeon rewards truly are sweet." "Did any X ranks come out?" Ramba pointed at herself. Jinwoo's face turned serious. "Ramba, did you forget?" He remembered the last gacha session, surrounded by summons and fragments, groaning. A memory appeared, he and Ramba tearing through countless summoning scrolls. Jinwoo leaned against the bench. "I tore through tens of thousands and still got nothing." Ramba shouted, "Just thinking about it gives me phantom pains." Jinwoo said, "Besides, now isn't the time to roll for new summons. Let's focus on upgrading the ones we already have." He looked down at his phone. "By the way, I should sell the junk from the grind. Should I ask Jaya?" He held up the phone, displaying contact information for Baek Ajin. Ajin stood in the middle of a crowd thinking, "Come to think of it, Ajin sells runes. And from now on, valuable items will start to pile up. Why not just give them all to Ajin?" His fingers typed quickly on the keyboard. He thought, "I can share the profits with her, especially since she even helped pay my hospital bills." Jinwoo typed and sent, "Hey Ajin, can we meet up for a bit? If you're free, come over to the empty lot." He smiled slightly, thinking to himself, "Now is finally the time to repay that kindness." The scene shifts to a cozy cafe. Ajin looked down, closed her eyes, and let out a soft sigh. She slightly raised both hands, wearing a forced smile. The friend beside her looked on with concern. "What's wrong? You don't look okay at all." Ajin replied, "I'm just feeling a bit out of it." Ajin looked at her friend with a small smile as a voice advised, "Tell me about it. Sharing what's on your mind might make you feel relieved." Ajin closed her eyes, her cheeks flushing slightly, thinking, "Actually, my brother is the player everyone has been talking about lately." Jinwoo stood with his back turned in front of a high-rise building, money fluttering around him as his voice rang out, "Keep it a secret for a while longer." Ajin stared ahead, muttering in amazement. She gripped the edge of the table tightly, her expression tense as sweat broke out. Ajin was thinking about how to explain that her brother had even started an information brokerage company. She clutched her hair on both sides, swaying in frustration, thinking to herself, He definitely has his reasons, but it's still so frustrating. Ah-jin stood between two friends looking awkward. They looked at her worriedly and asked, "What has your brother been up to lately? Is he busy?" Ah-jin stammered, I don't know anything. She pulled hard at her hair in anger, an imaginary flame erupting behind her. Keeping this a secret from my parents is really annoying, I just can't say it. While her mind was wandering, the phone screen displayed a message requesting a meeting at the empty lot. Ah-jin's eyes went wide as she thought, I wonder what on earth he wants to talk about now. She stood up from her chair, I have to go now. Her friends looked on in surprise. Ah-jin turned back and clasped her hands in apology. Sorry, my brother is calling. Her friend leaned forward surprised. Is that the brother who just woke up from a coma? Is he okay now? Ah-jin raised her hand, backing away while saying, I'll tell you the details next time. I'll pay the next time we hang out. An empty outdoor lot under the daylight with a rugged cliffside. Ah-jin stood clutching her handbag, looking forward and asking, what is going on? A lynx fired a burst of energy at a swarm of red monsters, and fire erupted. Two figures lunged forward with terrifying speed as a wyvern soared overhead. A swarm of small fairies flew around a giant golem that was trying to catch them. Hunjio stood with a whistle in his mouth, observing calmly. Ah-jin recognized him, the one who had overwhelmed her shadow elf last time. Hunjio turned his head to look at her. Ah-jin stood frozen. He turned his face away, ignoring her. Ah-jin asked in surprise, he's here too. She turned her head, calling out in shock, brother, then asked, what is all this? Jinwoo stood shirtless, a towel draped around his neck, wiping his head. Behind him, his well-defined muscular physique was clearly visible. Ah-jin looked on with a bewildered expression, thinking, was his body always like this? An image of the old, frail Jinwoo appeared, trembling as he held a phone. He was just in the hospital on an IV, he couldn't even lift anything heavier than a phone. Jinwoo gripped the towel around his neck and turned to ask, are you okay? Ah-jin rushed over, pointing behind him in shock, screaming, brother, what are those summons? Jinwoo remained calm, what about them? Ah-jin said, their market price has skyrocketed lately. Images of the summons appeared with their values, Combat Sheriff and Priest of Radiance C rank 200 million, Sky Wyvern, Wind Falcon and Titanium Golem B rank 1 billion. Ah-jin grew tense, they are extremely rare because there is no supply. Ah-jin narrowed her eyes, thinking, wait, how does he have such rare ones? I heard rumors that these summons appeared in the videos sold by Ubik. Jinwoo turned his head slightly, a smirk on his face. Ah-jin's eyes popped. Ubik, she was terrified, no way. Ah-jin looked at her brother in shock and asked, brother, you broke the daily dungeon records using these summons, didn't you? Jinwoo nodded, yeah, where did you get them? Jinwoo replied, you remember Jaya from back then? Ah-jin clasped her hands excitedly. Jaya, Jinwoo said, she gave them to me. Upon hearing that, the younger sister's face completely turned to stone. Ah-jin's face broke into a sweat as she screamed, she gave you such expensive things? Jinwoo stood at a distance. Yeah, they don't belong to the company. Ah-jin was stiff and stunned. Jinwoo turned, anyway, you got here pretty fast. Ah-jin wiped the corner of her mouth, asking in surprise, that's right, why did you call me here? Jinwoo asked. Are you still selling runes? A glowing blue interface appeared filled with runes. Ah-jin replied, yes, I sold a few yesterday too. Why do you ask? Jinwoo smiled. Well, you see. He swung his hand toward the glowing interface. Items spilled onto the floor. Ah-jin instinctively jumped back, her eyes wide. A massive pile of dungeon rewards appeared between the two. Ah-jin screamed, what are all these things? Jinwoo replied, the rewards I got from clearing dungeons, do you want to check them out? Ah-jin held a rune close to her face to inspect it. This is a swiftness rune, right? But the stats are a bit. Whoa, this cleave rune has a rare crit rate drop, it'll sell for a huge price. Jinwoo crossed his arms and smiled. Ah-jin narrowed her eyes as she held a blue rune. The crit rate on this one is tied to a defense stat, that's a bit weird, but she thought to herself, the stats aren't bad. Jinwoo thought, since Beak Ah-jin sells runes every day, you have a very good eye, even remembering the effects of low drop rate runes and quickly judging the value of skill books and materials. You even recognized my summons immediately. You must practically live in the marketplace. Ah-jin held a book and looked up in surprise when he called her name. Jinwoo gave a slight smile. I'm going to hand everything over to you. Do you want to try selling them? Ah-jin replied, you want me to sell them? She looked to the side, her face expressionless, thinking, I'm confident I can sell these well. Ah-jin smiled and closed her eyes, standing in front of the store. At least I won't lose to anyone. she had shown her business talent many times. An image of a young Ah-jin holding a phone out to Jinwoo appeared as he turned around. Since I was little, no matter what game I played, I always found trading more fun than hunting monsters. But if I sell these, then rune farming is basically over. Ah-jin leaned in, looking determined. Wait, wouldn't it be better to just focus on selling? She looked at Jinwoo with a bit of worry. What I'm worried about is... Jinwoo kept a neutral face. Ah-jin looked at him, feeling a bit tense. So, how much is my commission? She looked down, thinking seriously. I have to think about my future. I can do it for free once or twice, but not forever. Jinwoo crossed his arms, smiling calmly. How much do you want? Ah-jin closed her eyes and said, usually, big traders take 8–10%, but since it's you. She raised her hand, spreading 5 fingers. Can I take 5%? Jinwoo closed his eyes and chuckled. What do you mean 5% between us? Ah-jin bowed her head, sweat beading. Jinwoo held up 2 fingers. I'll be generous and give you 20%. Try to sell them well. Ah-jin froze, her eyes wide and her mouth agape. 20%. Jinwoo stood behind her, closing his eyes and smiling. Between us, Tilda. Ah-jin reached her hands forward, screaming in horror. You're giving me that much? Jinwoo turned his back, waving his hand as he walked away. I'll be giving you much better runes in the future, so get ready to be busy. Ah-jin stood behind him, breaking into a sweat. In the future? So this isn't just a one-time thing, but a long-term gig. Ah-jin leaned down, her face flushed and in shock, thinking, selling all of those with a 20% commission. She clenched both hands to her chest, watching his retreating figure. She wiped her tears with her sleeve. Rune farming isn't necessary anymore. Jinwoo walked along with a faint smile. Ah-jin smiled radiantly, tears in her eyes. I'm going to become a professional merchant. Bright red fire swirled violently with Pakyong at the center, while Jinwoo stood perfectly still inside his protective shield. After entrusting the entire dungeon reward to Ah-jin, he focused all his efforts on leveling up Pakyong. The staff with its glowing core was thrust forward as energy gathered around it. A giant fire dragon roared and soared across the battlefield as she cast explosive dragon wave. Jinwoo stood calmly within the shield, a faint smile playing at the corners of his mouth. Pakyong gripped her staff tightly, her expression intensely focused. The narrator's voice rang out. The key factor in becoming a strong player is possessing a true damage dealer. As she took a step forward, Jinwoo praised her. Great job, Pakyong. He reached out to pat her head. Pakyong flinched slightly, her face turning bright red with embarrassment. As she softly replied, thank you. Jinwoo stroked his chin, thinking to himself, come to think of it, it's been quite a while since I ran a dungeon with just Pakyong. Ramba rushed over in a panic with tears in his eyes while Hio was busy training the others and gave a departing wave. Ramba was pinned under a massive pot while the other summons stood around him. The narrator said, summons can wander for several hours without their player and they can even desummon themselves back home. The two walked side by side through the dark cave. Jinwoo spoke up. That reminds me, Pakyong, she obediently replied. Yes, Master Jinwoo. He continued his question. Is there anything you want? A goblin hiding behind a boulder lunged out with a gaping, snarling mouth, swinging its weapon to attack. Pakyong's eyes widened in surprise, and she spun around, swinging her staff. A brilliant streak of fire burned across the ground, blowing the goblin away in an instant. They continued walking together. Pakyong looked up. The thing I want... Jinwoo smiled. Yeah, like what Hunjio or Ramba have. Images appeared of Hunjio lifting weights with an expressionless face and Ramba happily hugging a cake. Jinwoo raised a finger and said with a smile, go ahead and speak freely, I'm listening. Pakyong hugged her staff tightly, hesitated for a moment, and then gave a small smile. Closing her eyes, I'm already very satisfied being able to help you as I am now, Master Jinwoo. Jinwoo placed a hand on his chest, looking moved, and then repeatedly patted her head. Come on, at least name one thing, for example, a food you'd like to eat. He leaned over with a slight laugh. Normally, summons don't need to eat or drink, but I often eat with the humanoid summons. Seeing how much Ramba loves cake, it's clear they have taste buds. Jinwoo held up a slice of pizza and said, I can't bear to eat delicious food alone while leaving you guys out. As Pakyong stood in the cave, Jinwoo looked at her and asked, of all the things you've eaten, which was the best? An image of a strawberry cake appeared and he guessed, you're a bit shy, so do you like sweets? Pakyong acted bashfully. There is one thing, Jinwoo said excitedly. What is it? It's fried chicken and beer, actually. Jinwoo's eyes widened in shock. Chicken. Jinwoo nodded. Alright then, so what's the next skill you're about to learn? The girl gently replied that it was the unified explosive dragon power magic. Jinwoo said, then on the day you master that skill, we'll take a special day off. The whole group will have a grilled chicken party. Pakyong closed her eyes and smiled happily. I'd love that. I'll work hard so I can earn that rest. Seeing how happy she was about having a day off, Jinwoo looked on with a bead of sweat. Is she more excited about resting than the chicken? He laughed. Well, it doesn't matter anyway. What's important is having the motivation to try. The scene shifted to an open field. Jae-ah stood with her arms crossed between two men. Byung-jin asked in surprise, where did you find this place? Jae-ah replied confidently, I bought it from my grandfather. I'm going to build the Ubik building right here. She pointed at the construction site. This part will be the offices and over there will be the dorms and apartments exclusively for employees. Standing with her back turned, she added, beneath all the buildings we'll build reinforced underground bunkers. Byung-jin was surprised. Bunkers? Jae-ah nodded. She recalled Jinwoo's words, just take good care of protecting my family. Jae-ah thought to herself, I will definitely keep my promise. She stood with her hands on her hips, hair blowing in the wind, thinking, he likes wide-open spaces, so putting the training ground over there would be perfect. Then she suddenly asked another question. Byung-jin, is the summon I asked you to buy ready? Byung-jin replied, yes, it is. He summoned a wolf and introduced it, saying it was a night wolf as requested by the chairman. But why do you suddenly need this one, ma'am? Jae-ah crossed her arms and smiled. I have someone I plan to give it to. The scene shifted to a restaurant. Meat sizzled on the grill as smoke rose into the air. Ah-jin smiled. Eat up, guys, order whatever you want. Her two friends cheered. This is so good. Is it really okay for your brother to treat us at a fancy place like this? Ah-jin smiled gently, of course. Her friends marveled. Top-tier players really are on a different level. Ah-jin said softly, it's all thanks to my big brother. She was currently selling high-quality items from her brother very successfully. Customers were flocking in, crowding around to place orders. While eating, one friend asked, hey, do you guys know Baek Jinwoo? The blonde friend said excitedly, of course, he's so hot right now he just broke his own record again. Ah-jin froze, a cold sweat breaking out. Everyone continued, he's about to break the world record soon. And he's actually really handsome too. I bet he definitely has a girlfriend, I'm so jealous. These comments caused the girl to instantly turn to stone. Ah-jin's eyes widened as she thought tremblingly, handsome my foot, is there another Baek Jinwoo out there? By the way, doesn't Baek Jinwoo use Instagram? He's under Yoo Jae-ah's company, so he's definitely on her following list. Let me try to find him. Hearing them talk like that, Ah-jin didn't even bother to pay attention. But then, her black-haired friend suddenly discovered something startling. Wait, this account is, Ah-jin, isn't this your account? Why is Yoo Jae-ah following you? Their words left Ah-jin herself shocked and she hurriedly grabbed her phone to check. Are you sure you guys aren't seeing things? But after looking closely, Ah-jin completely confirmed it. For real, I only followed her because I'm a fan. But when did she start following me back? It must be because she knows I'm Jinwoo's sister. On this side, the group of friends began looking at Ah-jin with eyes full of admiration. Before they rushed over to interrogate her. What is going on here? Explain it to us right now. Did you two know each other before? Don't tell me you're actually close. Just then, Ah-jin's phone vibrated violently. She picked it up, her face tense. Hold on a second. The screen showed a message from Yoo Jae-ah. Ah-jin, are you free tomorrow? Ah-jin stood up abruptly, raising her hand and shouting so loud the whole restaurant turned to look. A staff member asked worriedly, excuse me, is everything all right? A quiet street under a clear sky. A sleek black car pulled gently to the curb. Ah-jin was trembling, her hands tightly clasped together. A voice rang out, long time no see, Ah-jin. Yoo Jae-ah sat behind the wheel, giving a playful wink. Get in. Ah-jin cheered excitedly. Yes, ma'am. The black car left the curb and rolled down the street. Ah-jin sat in the car, fidgeting with her fingers, her voice soft. So, Jae-ah drove with a serene smile. Ah-jin froze in surprise. You want to meet my family, right? Jae-ah nodded. Yeah, Jinwoo's been very busy lately. She smiled gently. First, I asked him if I could give gifts in Ubik's name. He said it was okay. Ah-jin's eyes lit up. Wow, you're going to give them yourself? Jae-ah replied softly, yes, because I'm the CEO. Ah-jin sat still, her cheeks flushing as she thought, usually just sending a gift is enough. Does she care about my brother this much? She glanced at Jae-ah with a hint of envy. Jae-ah gripped the steering wheel and asked, Would your parents mind me showing up unannounced? Ah Jin smiled brightly from the passenger seat. It's fine, I told my parents to stay home today because I wanted to introduce someone. She remembered how her parents kept asking about Jinwoo while she could only repeat, I don't know anything, and worry to herself, I hope he's still alive. Ajin crossed her arms and laughed out loud. Jinwoo is definitely #1 in the world when it comes to knowing absolutely nothing. The black car parked in front of a modest apartment building. The elevator doors opened on the 5th floor. Ajin opened the front door, gesturing happily. This is my home. She stepped inside and called out, Mom, Dad, I'm home. Jae-ah followed behind, looking a bit tense. She quietly observed the small living room, thinking, it's really small. But then she smiled slightly. But it definitely feels like a home that's lived in. Ah Jin's parents stood at the door with surprised faces. Ah Jin's father asked, Ah Jin is home, and then looked at the guest with her. Jae-ah gave an elegant smile. Hello, sir. Ah Jin's father's eyes widened. Our girl has such a beautiful friend. Jae-ah placed a hand over her heart and bowed respectfully. It's a pleasure to meet you both. Ah Jin's parents were stunned when Jae-ah introduced herself as the representative from Ubik. They both stammered, repeating the name in shock. Ajin quickly pulled her parents closer. Mom, Dad, I'll explain later. Steam rose from the coffee cups on the table. A trembling voice asked, is all of this for real? Ajin's parents sat frozen, completely shocked to learn that Jinwoo was a famous player and that the woman in front of them was the CEO of his company and a member of the Deseong Group family. Jae-ah smiled calmly. Yes, I came to visit you today in my capacity as the CEO of Ubi. Ah Jin's parents panicked. You're such an esteemed guest coming to our cramped home, Ah Jin thought to herself. Turns out my parents still see it that way. Jae-ah spoke to Ah Jin's father in a formal tone that made him jump. With a calm demeanor, she explained. According to the contract, Ubik is responsible for taking care of your health and well-being. Ajin's parents were dazed. Hours. Jae-ah pushed a thick folder across the table. Please take a look at this. The documents clearly stated, security services, new housing, living expenses, medical care, and comprehensive support. Specifically, the line monthly living allowance, 10 million won, left them reeling. They stammered, is this for real? Jae-ah smiled warmly. Please accept it without hesitation. Ah Jin, sitting nearby, was equally shocked by the massive scale of the support. Jae-ah continued, compared to what Jinwoo has achieved, this is only a small part. She smiled brightly. I've also prepared a few small gifts. Ah Jin's parents panicked even more. Jae-ah opened a holographic storage. Jinwoo said Ah Jin's father really likes summons. The father sheepishly admitted it because of his pebble golem. Jae-ah immediately selected an item. So I've prepared a golem for you as well. A blue light flashed. A diamond golem B rank appeared, looking adorable with its shimmering crystal shell. The father's eyes lit up and he thanked her emotionally. I never expected my son would bring me such a wonderful gift. Jae-ah turned to Ah Jin's mother. And for you, ma'am, I also have a special gift. A small, shimmering creature appeared, a rainbow snail B rank, extremely rare with only about 100 in the world. Jae-ah introduced it. Its slime is excellent for skincare, whitening the skin and reducing wrinkles. Ah Jin's mother immediately succumbed to the cuteness, cradling it in her hands, her face flushed with happiness. Ah Jin watched the scene, both amazed and joking. You guys sure are lucky. Suddenly Jae-ah said, and for you I have a gift for you too. A massive white wolf appeared in deep blue energy, its eyes glowing with power. Ah Jin recoiled in panic, her eyes bugging out. Is this for real or am I dreaming? A night wolf worth 500 million won was right in front of her face. Seeing this, Jae-ah laughed and said, Jinwoo said you would definitely like it, Ah Jin. Ah Jin's parents were still dazed. Are we really allowed to accept all of this? Ah Jin said excitedly. I'll tell him to treat you even better. Jae-ah covered her mouth and giggled gracefully. Ah Jin is so cute. Afterward, the protagonist's parents wanted to invite Jae-ah to eat at their home, but Jae-ah had already prepared a restaurant. At an upscale traditional restaurant, the family sat together. Jinwoo's father said, Jinwoo used to just play games all day and wouldn't study, but now it's finally paid off. Ah Jin's parents smiled as they reminisced. He's been playing for a long time. Whenever he likes something, he dives in head first. Ah Jin laughed while eating. Everyone's exaggerating about my brother. He's only achieved all this in 1 year. Jae-ah was drinking water nearby when her eyes suddenly widened as Ah Jin's father corrected her. What are you talking about? He's been playing that game for at least 10 years. Both Ah-jin and Jae-ah shouted in surprise at the same time. Ah-jin's father crossed his arms. He started playing back in middle school. There was a time he played and fell asleep, so I caught a glimpse of it. I think the game's name was Summer Battle or something like that. I wondered how long he intended to play it, but he kept at it all the way until his senior year of high school. Ah-jin hadn't recovered from her shock and questioned him. "Dad, is that really true?" The middle-aged man replied a bit flustered. "My memory is a little hazy, so I can't be 100% sure." Both Ah-jin and Jae-ah fell into a stunned silence. A single thought echoed in their minds simultaneously. There's only one person in this world who could persistently play that trash game for 10 years. No way could he really be Jin God.